6 a.m. Good morning, live from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Texans upset the Bills 23-19 last night for Thursday Night Football, thanks to a clinic put on by Houston's defense, racking up 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, both by cornerback Kalen Bullock, and a fumble recovery. Will Anderson Jr. had 2.5 sacks, and Daniil Hunter had 2 sacks as well. The Texans improved to 6-5 on the year. In the other NFL news, Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow was a full participant in practice once again yesterday, and Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers returned to practice yesterday in limited fashion after suffering a fractured left wrist this past Sunday. And this Sunday, the Titans continue their search for their first home win of the season as they host Sam Darnold and the Seattle Seahawks with a noon kickoff. Kevin Zeitler, Jahad Ward, Tyjae Spears, Jeffrey Simmons, and Darrell Baker Jr. all returned to practice yesterday. Alec Ayumanor did not practice once again with a hamstring injury. On Sunday, Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff gets you started on The Zone at 9 a.m., then Titans Countdown at 11, before Taylor Zarzer, Coach Dave McGinnis take over for the call at noon. In college football, on tomorrow, number 20, Tennessee travels to Gainesville with a 6:30 p.m. kickoff as they take on the Florida Gators. Mike Keith, Ramon Foster have the call on Vol Network right here on 104.5 The Zone. And number 14, Vanderbilt hosts Kentucky at 2:30 on ESPN at First Bank Stadium. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Off and running on a loaded Friday morning. Here for the next 4 hours on Ramon and Will, sending you into the weekend of football. We only have a certain amount of football we all get to watch in our lifetimes. We got to cherish days like this, weekends like this. It'd be good this weekend. Tennessee going to the Swamp. Vanderbilt looking to keep its playoff hopes alive against Kentucky. We got a lot to talk about this morning. We got 3 ways to evaluate Cam Ward against the Seattle Seahawks. A who's who of receivers who aren't going to be there for Sunday's game. So how do we judge Cam fairly on Sunday afternoon? We'll talk about that coming up in 15 minutes. Brent Hubbs joins us for his weekly visit at 7:20, talking Tennessee and Florida. Stephen Godfrey is in studio at 8 a.m. Tate Matthews at 9. Ron Slay at 9:20. Your phone calls at 615-737-1045. Ramon Foster is out. He is on the way to Gainesville this morning, a difficult place to get to. So that is what he is doing today to get ready for tomorrow night's matchup between Tennessee and Florida. You've got myself. You've got our producer, Justin Hawkins, hanging out with you for the next 4 hours. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you? Did you stay up for the whole game last night?
Of course.
Oh, man, what a thriller.
Always. Very good game. Texans 23, Bills 19. We talked about yesterday how the Buffalo Bills, without Dalton Kincaid at tight end, with a healthy scratch again on Keon Coleman, which I just don't understand, would have to run the football well and or get the ball to their tight ends, not named Dalton Kincaid, well. They got away from the run. 2 turnovers, 8 sacks taken. This is why a lot of us weren't that mad when Cam Ward looked the way he did last week against the Houston Texans. Because that Josh Allen guy's pretty good. And how did he look last night?
Oh, he looked, well, a little shaky. Kind of like his couple first years in the league, Josh Allen. He also had Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter had Deion Dawkins, the left tackle. He had him on skates.
Well, and Spencer Brown, the right tackle, too. Maybe even had an even worse night.
Man. At the end of the game, when they've got the 4th and 1 and got the false start, just had him seeing ghosts out there ready to just try to get ahead of the jump there.
Josh Allen, 24 of 34, 253 yards, 8 sacks taken, a pair of interceptions. A fumble in this game was critical, or 3 turnovers, really, for the Buffalo Bills, who really just kind of had 3 big plays. 44-yard catch and run by Khalil Shakir, including that 4th and 27. That was unbelievable that they actually converted that. A lateral play where they throw it over the middle to Josh Palmer, Vol, and lateral it to Khalil Shakir. Worked out pretty well. But they just really had that. a kickoff return for a touchdown, and a 45-yard touchdown run by James Cook. That was kind of it in this game. And, really, you look at what Houston was able to do defensively, it really shouldn't have been as close as it was, considering that was really all Buffalo had on offense, was 3 big plays, 2 on offense, and, of course, the 1 on special teams. So Kalen Bullock gets 2 picks in this game right at the end of the second quarter, leading to a Houston field goal. Also forced a fumble deep in Buffalo territory that led to another field goal. 8 sacks for minus 70. Yeah, when Cam was only sacked a couple of times this past weekend, this is why we were so happy about it. And I think for anybody, Justin, that was having like a referendum of confidence in Cam Ward and who just lost that coming out of a bye week, again, what did you expect? Because this is what one of the best quarterbacks in the league looks like against this Houston Texans defense right now.
I know, it kind of put a little bit of a shining light on what this Titans offense could be with Cam Ward and this offensive line, that maybe it's not that bad, but also this is one of the best defenses that the whole league has to offer. I
think it's the best.
There was a stat last night. I don't remember exactly what the stat was, but the Texans defense is first in a lot of categories, and they would be the first team in NFL history if they do not make the playoffs, which of course now they're 6-5, and I think they're a half game back of a wild card spot in the AFC. So they're putting themselves in the picture, but also Davis Mills is 3-0 in those 3 starts.
Yeah, started this game 1 of 8. And was 3 of 12 before hitting 8 of his next 9 passes and leading 2 touchdown drives. Houston's offense really did nothing in the second half other than a field goal off of a turnover. 3 for 12 on third downs, but Davis Mills didn't make any big mistakes, which that's kind of all he has to do when this defense is playing the way that it is. Didn't take a sack and did not turn the ball over in this game.
Apparently also on his play sheet on his wristband, he writes "Don't rush," so that he slows himself down, doesn't panic. It showed last night.
You know what I want Cam Ward to put on his play sheet? Rush.
Yeah, rush.
The opposite.
Yeah, a little bit more pep in your step.
NFL research saying last night that Will Anderson Jr. tied Mario Williams' Texans record from the 2007 season of 6 straight games with a sack. It's the longest single-season streak of games with a sack. The only Texans player with a longer sack streak is J.J. Watt, with 7 games, spanning from 2014 to 2015. He won Defensive Player of the Year in both of those seasons. Very impressive performance by the Texans defense. Here's the thing that I think watching this game. Again, even with Josh Allen at quarterback, we've got to have a healthy level of expectation of how much a quarterback can, quote, elevate his receivers. And he had nobody open on most of these. Khalil Shakir's yardage was mostly catch and run in this game. Aside from some creative play designs from Joe Brady that got the tight ends open, some screens, some, eye candy to get the eyes of the defenders moving for Houston, Josh Allen just didn't have anybody to throw to. Now, would I have liked to see Josh Allen, if I'm a Bills fan, just give some of his receivers a chance who are tightly covered in this game? Yes. Yes, I would. And we're going to talk about that with Cam Ward coming up here in 10 minutes. But we spoke about this, Justin, a few weeks ago when talking about what a quarterback needs to be successful and the 3 elements of what you need. You need 2 of really good play caller, which I'd say probably is the most important of these next 2, solid offensive line player, solid weapons. Typically this season, they have had 3. Of the 4 elements you need. Obviously, good quarterback play. Josh Allen has been the front runner for MVP for a lot of this season, according to many. They've had good line play. They also have had pretty good play calling. I think Joe Brady is a great designer of plays, the Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator. I'm not so sure he has the best feel for what play to call when, but they have not had above average weapons in Buffalo this year. Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, the tight ends, Jackson Hall's 2. Very solid group of tight ends, but who scares you at wide receiver on the Buffalo Bills?
Well, nobody, but plus
exactly.
They're missing Keon Coleman for the second straight game, and they're setting a huge example out of him. And I think it kind of sets an example in the just young group of receivers, cornerbacks, whoever in this league, that you don't mess around. And they're going to set examples. They're not just doing that in Buffalo as they're doing it in New York with Abdul Carter. And they did it in Dallas.
That's different, though. That's not a 2-game benching. That's
No.
one drive.
Right.
And for both Dallas and New York. I don't understand what's going on.
Teams
with
are just
Keon Coleman.
setting examples of these young players.
Yeah, just two
This is just
games
a little bit of an outlier.
2 games of being totally benched and inactive is beyond just setting an example. That's a guy you don't want around right now.
Yeah.
Very, very odd because he could help them. And by the way, teams like the Titans who need a wide receiver should be calling about him this offseason if things don't get better for Keon Coleman. Every quarterback, I don't care how good you are. I don't care if you're Patrick Mahomes. I don't care if you're Josh Allen. I don't care if you're Cam Ward. Every quarterback needs a one. That one can be a tight end. Sometimes that one is a running back. For Jalen Hurts, it was. Among, obviously, the 2 other weapons that he had. But, again, this is the ultimate team sport. And I feel like here, with the Titans taking a number 1 overall quarterback, the cliche of, the quarterback's you just got to elevate the guys around you. It's on you, buddy. It's on you. Go turn Pierre Garçon into Marvin Harrison the way that Peyton Manning did. Go turn Austin Collie into Reggie Wayne the way that that's Peyton Manning. I feel like a lot of times we judge how a quarterback is supposed to elevate their wide receivers based on how maybe the 2 greatest quarterbacks of all time did it.
Sure.
Between Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. That's not realistic. Josh Allen is not either of those guys. He needs help. And boy, last night he needed a lot more help than what he got from the offensive line and from the wide receivers. No, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, 100%. He had 110 yards. I mean, that's fantastic, but you want him to be your 3.
On Facebook Live, Broderick says, see how quick the Bills moved on from Keon Coleman? What round was he drafted? Bad is bad, and you can see when it's time to move on. Holy false equivalency.
It was a 2nd-round pick.
I could not pick 2 situations that were less similar, respectfully, than Cam Ward in year 1, 10 games into his NFL career, and a 2nd-round pick wide receiver who has got an attitude adjustment that he needs to have off the field, according to everything that we know.
But also, he's not bad.
He's not maybe lived up to his expectations.
Sure.
He's not terrible.
No.
Do you think Cam Ward has an attitude that needs to be adjusted? Is Cam Ward late to meetings? Is he oversleeping on stuff?
No, I think he just speaks out to the media a little bit. And that's about
Cam?
Yeah.
That's not a problem.
No.
Cam's
that's his worst attribute. That's fine.
His worst attribute is holding on to the ball too long. Cam does not have any off-field question marks the way that Keon Coleman does. You cannot compare those 2 situations. Absolutely cannot compare those 2 situations. But again, 10 games in. Number 11 in 2 days. Hard to judge anybody versus Cam, who is not a rookie right now. Live for the 104.5 The Zone Circus Sports Studio, Kentucky's largest sports book can now be found at Circus Sports at Kentucky Downs. A big question for the Titans this weekend and 3 ways to evaluate Cam Ward with all of the changes around him coming up next.
It's Ramon and Will here for Window Nation. Man, telling you want your home to be comfortable year-round. We spoke earlier about how the weather is just back and forth. It's hot, it's cold, it's warm, it's lukewarm, it's wet outside, all of those types of things, man. But you want your family protected and an investment you can feel great about for years. This is where Window Nation comes into play for you. They have a A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. They do 50-point inspections on every window before it leaves the factory and 20-point inspections on every window when it's installed. Your new windows, best part about it all, can be installed in 1 day or less, Will.
They can, Ramon, and I tell you what, Window Nation is the best in the business with the sales and the offers that they give you. You got to take advantage of Window Nation's end-of-year sale through November. 50% off all window styles. You could get 0% interest financing for 5 years. Window Nation has a 96% customer satisfaction rating, over 45,000 five-star reviews. They've installed over 3 million windows across the country. Hurry, this sale ends soon. Head online, windownation.com. Schedule a fast, free estimate now with the pros at Window Nation at windownation.com. Friday morning, Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooter's Coffee, a 104.5 The Zone. No Ramon today as he heads to the Swamp, Tennessee and Florida. Of course, tomorrow night here, courtesy of the Vol Network. I have a lot on that today. Brett Hubbs in an hour. Stephen Godfrey in studio at 8 o'clock. Myself, Will Bowling, at Ramona Will, at Will_Bowling on Twitter. So how do we judge Cam Ward against the Seattle Seahawks? Right, without Calvin Ridley and without Alekiah Manor, I just want to set this standard and set this scene for you on the front end. That way we're not having any kind of revisionist history on Monday about like what we really expected Cam Ward to do. Seattle has 6 players with 20-plus pressures in 2025, tied for the most in the NFL. Uchenna Nwosu leading the way with 5.5 sacks on the edge, 5 sacks from Leonard Williams as well up the middle. This is a very different challenge for Cam Ward against the Seattle Seahawks than the Houston Texans. And it's ironic because the Texans kind of solved this problem last night on Thursday Night Football. This defense is not going to pressure you from the edges in the same way that it is going to up the middle. Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson were getting so vertical. Were so good around the edges against the Titans last week. There were rush lanes. There were avenues for Cam Ward to step up in the pocket, scramble, find space, extend the play, and do some good things. Well, in this game, I think he's got to have a different kind of escape plan. Huge challenge against a very good Seattle Seahawks defense as Cam kind of looks to build on what he did on Sunday. Average time to throw at 2.6 seconds. If you've been listening to the show this week, you know we've talked about that a ton. That is the fastest of his career from the time the ball was snapped to the time that he got rid of it. Gonna need to see more of that. Cam this season, 56.4 passer rating when pressured in 2025 when he's been sacked also 41 times. So I've got 3 ways we judge Cam Ward this weekend. But first we go to the phone. 615-737-1045. Sean in the Borough kicks us off this morning. Good morning, Sean.
Hey, good morning, y'all.
How's it going?
So you mentioned the Seahawks matchup on Sunday, and this is just going to be a tough one for the Titans. Let's admit it. We're not going to win, but we need some playmakers to show good things and show potential for later this season against maybe some not quite as good teams or even for next season. And I think one of the ways that we help Cam Ward out is giving him more time on the field. If we're talking about trades left and right, trade away Tony Pollard, trade away Cam Ward even. I don't think that's a smart idea. But if we do have to trade away some of our players, we need to target a safety where, we got Cam Ward. He's going to make plays on offense. If we can get a safety, cornerback, someone along those lines who can make plays from a defensive standpoint, interceptions, turnovers, to give Cam Ward more chances, that would really be a huge help to the Titans right now.
Sure. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate the call. There are going to be a lot of things the Titans could kind of double down on and invest in this offseason to make this team better. And that may be it. I'd be surprised if it was, but that may be it. You double down on defense. You really try to build a good enough defense to where you essentially become the Chicago Bears in 2025, where Chicago is 7-3 this season. Defense is playing fantastic. You bring in an offensive head coach and say, obviously, let's build a better offensive line or better weapons. And that's kind of what Chicago's done. They felt like they already liked the weapons enough to build up the offensive line. And all of a sudden, now their quarterback is in enough one-score games, making enough throws late in those games to be able to have success and be 4 games over 500. Fred on YouTube says, compare Cam to Jackson Dart with 4 exclamation points, saying that we can't compare Cam to guys that are in their second year. Yeah, Jackson Dart's been better this year. What else does Jackson Dart have? One of the best pass-blocking offensive lines in football, which is kind of crazy to say that he's got that because he plays for the New York Giants, a team who famously never has an offensive line. That offensive line's fantastic. Andrew Thomas has been one of the best left tackles in the league the past couple of seasons, ever since he went through the growing pains that, look at that, your tackle on the right side, J.C. Latham, is going through this year. So Yes, Jackson Dart has been the better of the two rookie quarterbacks in a very, very small sample size. With Malik Neighbors, by the way, at the beginning of the season. I know he's hurt now. And also a much better offensive line than what the Titans had. You can go to that being the root of most of the Titans' issues on offense this season. The offensive line not being as good as they thought it was going to be, being a challenge for this quarterback, for these wide receivers who are young and can't get open quickly enough in the time that Cam's got to throw it, and for a running game that we expected to be a lot better that's 32nd in the league this season in rushing yards. Mike in Nashville wants to chime in next. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's up, Will? Just a kind of a thought about from the start of the season. Do you think Cam regrets or, needed to, kind of how you were talking about, be realistic with expectations, saying, hey, we have a top 10 offensive line. We have top 5 receiving group and running back group. Is that something that you think he regrets, or is it hey, maybe we should just kind of pump the brakes on those comments before we figure out what we have?
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Appreciate the call. I don't think he's gotten worse, no. I don't think he's regressed. I think the pathway of progression is not a straight line. It's not linear, right? So against Houston, statistically, if you want to judge, 64.9% completion, 194 yards, a touchdown, 87 quarterback rating, takes 3 sacks in this game. But you look at some of the positives on things he hadn't done yet. Career high rushing yards. I know it's only 33, but again, baby steps. And again, you look at how quickly he got the ball out. Those are things that don't wow you statistically. I do think they are signs of progress that his processing speed is getting quicker in the pocket. So I think that's the first element of it, too. I mean, you look at from a passer rating perspective, he has been now in the last 5 games. Quarterback rating, 81, 92, 76.5, 78.5, 87. His first 5 games, his quarterback rating was 54, 82, 74, 35, and 64. Now, he did win that 64 game. That was the Arizona win, 22-21, where he throws for 265, which at this point is still his early in his career high. Didn't have a touchdown throw in that game, but he made some high-level throws. I think that is where the conversation we're having now kind of comes full circle, because there are elements of Cam Ward's game that are not going to be shown on the stat sheet and might not be shown in wins and losses. Definitely aren't being shown in wins and losses right now because they've lost so many. They're going to show signs of progress. So I got 3 of these for you. And Mike asks a good question of where is he getting better? Where can he continue to get better? I've got 3 ways that we judge Cam Ward on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks, because a lot of this doesn't have as much to do with who he is throwing to and what his performance as an individual looks like. Seattle has the 4th highest pressure rate in the NFL this season, 39.9%. They do that in a lot of different ways, though, from teams that he's seen. Obviously, when we talked about Cam going to Denver, it's a heavy blitz team. Talked about Houston, the aggressiveness of the DeMeco Ryans defense. Last week, again, in the different base defenses that they have. Well, now you got to deal with Seattle, who blitzes only 21% of the time. That's the 2nd lowest rate in the NFL. Leonard Williams can crash the pocket so effectively that they don't need to send pressure when they don't have to. It is the easiest numbers game ever. If you only send 4, you can defend with 7 on the back end. You have more defensive backs out there to defend. Oh, and now it's harder for the quarterback to get rid of the ball because he's already got a guy in his lap, and there's more defenders to take it away from the guy that Cam is trying to get it to. Number 1, Cam Ward's speed of decision-making, I think, is the most important thing that he has got to continue to improve on. Even if guys are covered, are you giving your receivers a chance? Through the first 10 weeks of the season, again, it's the money stat of the week, guys, I'm telling you. Cam Ward averaged 2.97 seconds per throw. That is 5th longest in the NFL. That is not abnormal. Rookie quarterbacks have challenges knowing where to go to the ball nearly as quickly as obviously they do in college when guys are college open. Or also when they can tuck it and run, escape out of the back of the pocket, not stepping up in the pocket, but just running around back there. because you've got guys who are going to go pro in something other than sports who are trying to tackle you. Guys who aren't running 4.5 40s as 240-pound edge rushers like you have in the NFL. Cam Ward on quick throws in Week 11 against the Houston Texans completed 15 of 21 attempts for 113 yards and a touchdown. As a result, he faced the second lowest pressure rate he's seen all season. 25.6% of his dropbacks he was pressured on. Against the same defense, mind you, that just sacked Josh Allen 8 times live on national television. Live on national streaming, I guess I should say. It's Amazon Prime these days, not NFL Network or the national TV options that we've had on Thursday nights before. All that being said, it is the number one thing I think I want to see Cam Ward make progress in. A little bit challenging considering who you're throwing to. And again, this is where it gets tricky because, yes, you want Cam to be making quicker decisions. You also want him making the right decisions against a group of receivers that are going to struggle to get open in a short amount of time on Sunday. You just got to give guys a chance, right? In this league, in the NFL, there are many, many, many worse options than just underthrows that draw pass interferences on third down. Underthrows on deep balls where you give your guy a chance and a spot foul essentially hands you an explosive play. I know that that's not realistic to just run a play where you're trying to underthrow it. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm saying that that condition is different in the NFL than it is in college, right? If you give your guy a chance the same way you did to Van Jefferson on a vertical route on third down on the 95-yard drive on Sunday against the Houston Texans, odds are you're going to get some pass interference calls. You're going to get some defensive holding calls. But the ball has got to come out of your hand in order to give that guy a chance. So even in tight windows, even when guys are covered, is Cam quickly making decisions to either give a guy a chance or just tuck it and run?
I think you got to start finding these tight ends. I feel like we're kind of beating a dead horse with that, but the Titans run 11 personnel more than any other team in the NFL this year. They're running it at 76% of their snaps, offensive snaps this season. You got to start utilizing these tight ends. Maybe let's run some 12 personnel, and both Chig and Gunnar Helm, who have the highest success rate of catching their balls versus any other receiver on this Titans team. Plus, Calvin Ridley's out now. Eli Manor is questionable for this week with a hamstring injury. You've got to utilize Okonkwo and Helm.
And that's, I think, exactly what I'm talking about in that a couple of the catches that Gunnar Helm made last week, this guy all over him. Just give him a chance, right? The third down deep in their own territory, the first third down of the 95-yard drive, the Titans had to tie the game last Sunday, was a over-the-middle route to Gunnar Helm with a guy all over him like a backpack. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Is Cam giving his guys a chance? If they drop it, we'll talk about that Monday, right? Because statistically, like I don't care what the stats say at this point. I don't care if you're putting it in tight windows, you give guys a chance, the ball's placed at a good spot, and it's not caught. But are you giving them a chance to catch it by getting the ball out on time against a really good pass rush that he's going to see this weekend?
And I think Gunnar Helm is your best option for that because he's been literally the best catcher of the football on this team, and he's a fellow rookie.
I want
he's
third downs.
Very well.
Yeah, I want third downs to be known as third and Helm moving forward.
I like it.
That is your third down target. Now, it doesn't mean that the defense doesn't also know that. That's the other thing. They watched the film of the Texans game. Nick Emanwari, the second-round pick out of South Carolina, who the Seahawks traded with the Titans to move up to select. He knows who Gunnar Helm is, too, and who Chig Okonkwo is as well. So if I'm Seattle, I'm looking at the Titans and saying, let's take away the tight ends and let any of these receivers beat us.
Right, and also the run game's not doing anything for you either. It's very one-dimensional. So, yes, if they do start running this 12 personnel and they take away both Okonkwo and Helm, yeah, Van Jefferson's your number one this week. Jim DK looks like he's probably going to return. You take that away as well. Yeah, I mean, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, you're kind of grasping at straws there.
Number two thing that I want to see from Cam Ward that is how we evaluate him, regardless of who he's playing with, is better mechanics. Cam this season in a clean pocket, when he has had the ability to step into a throw, he's had time to pick out who is open. According to Next Gen Stats, in a clean pocket, Cam Ward has the third lowest quarterback rating in the NFL. His quarterback rating is 80.7 this season in a clean pocket. Only Dylan Gabriel and J.J. McCarthy are worse. He is -4 in completion percentage over expected on such throws. Only better than Trevor Lawrence, Dylan Gabriel, Caleb Williams, and J.J. McCarthy. Ball placement matters. The touch you are putting on the football, which I think Cam's gotten better at, by the way. I think that's one area where he's improved. He's not throwing as many fastballs. Every now and then he'll drop in a changeup. Footwork matters. The velocity of the pass matters. The ball placement matters. All things that are under his control when he does have a clean pocket and isn't under pressure. Are your mechanics sound enough to where you are hitting layups when layups are given to you? Now, we might be talking about 8 to 10 throws in this entire game. In talking about how many times he is going to have time, clean pocket, guy open, step, throw, bang. Those are few and far between, unfortunately, right now for the Titans, because either somebody's not getting open quickly enough or there's somebody in Cam's lap when he has that time to throw. The mechanics part of it, I think, is the second most important part for Cam at this point on what we judge. Third part of it, I think, is the escape plan in the pocket. That cannot just be something that worked against the Texans. Scrambling, getting out of the pocket, and getting away from pressure. Cam has run for over 10 yards just 3 times this year. He is athletic enough to do a lot more of that. I think especially in this game, and especially against a Seahawks defense that is going to be covering your pass catchers minus your 2 best ones in Calvin Ridley and Alec Iamander, because I don't expect Iamander to play. You go down with a hamstring late in the game and you don't practice during the week. We'll see what they say today. I'm working under the assumption that Chimere Dike is wide receiver 1 on Sunday against the Seattle Seahawks. Cam has run for more than 10 yards only 3 times this season. Got to see more of him scrambling. And I think this coaching staff is trying to talk with him about that. I think that is a big point of emphasis for them. They want Cam tucking it and running it a lot more, aggressively. I guess that's probably not the right word, but they want him to be a lot more decisive in, I don't have anything, let's run. And I think that's the third area. Are you comfortable with your escape plan in the pocket? Or are you shuffling your feet? Are you drifting to your right? And are you running into pressure? Because not all the pressure that Cam has faced this season has been on somebody just getting beat. He has drifted into pressure quite a lot. Again, something you see in rookie quarterbacks. So those are the 3 things that I think are important for Cam and how we evaluate him on Sunday. How quickly are you making decisions and giving your guys a chance? Do the mechanics break down, or are you stepping into throws in clean pockets? And what's your escape plan when you are pressured? Are you scrambling?
Right. You got to utilize everything that's in your toolbox, and he's just not done that to this point. But I think last week...
Not for 4 quarters.
Right. Oh, he hasn't done that at all this whole season.
What do you mean?
For 4 quarters, he hasn't been consistent at all.
Right.
You'd like to see at least that. But if you've got a skill set that allows you to run, I mean, he juked a guy last week.
Yeah.
You're athletic enough to be able to run, and you've got the speed to do it. You've got to utilize that. It kind of goes back to Vince Young when, they just didn't want him to run. I don't think that's the case here. It's more Cam doesn't want to run, or if he is running, he's not seeing the pressure in the right spots. And it's like what we were talking about just a little bit ago with Davis Mills, writing don't rush and say rush a little bit.
Yeah.
Use your eyes down the field, see where the pressure is breaking down, go the opposite way, use your legs because you've got them.
It's true. Lee on Twitter says, we also had 3rd and long 5 or 6 times. Of course, it's going to take longer to throw. Yeah, for sure. That's part of it, but you also got to give your guys a chance more quickly because you only get so long to hold the football, even if it is 3rd and 11 plus, 3rd and 10 plus. And I think the other thing we've talked about a lot this week is that the Titans failed to convert on a 3rd and 2 pass play, a 3rd and 5 pass play. That was a Danielle Hunter sack. A 3rd and 4 pass play, which is a swing pass to Tajay Spears where he went -3 and slipped. Like this team, it wasn't just 3rd and chains where they struggled. They struggled in 3rd and medium and 3rd and short against the Texans.
Right, and you also got to eliminate your mistakes. You can't be having 5 false starts this week.
For sure. That's a lot out of his control.
True.
Coming up, somebody embarrassed themselves in sports media yesterday. You may have seen this. You may be learning about it for the first time because this show is not what it used to be. But a national sports personality just totally had a rough day yesterday. You'll hear from him next. Put Lee Company on your team and stay ahead of the game with home maintenance, repairs, and more. For as little as $14 a month, become a Lee Company Plus member and receive 4 annual visits to your home for your heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical systems. I love Lee Company Plus because you stay ahead of whatever in the world Mother Nature is going to throw at you here in Middle Tennessee when sometimes we get all 4 seasons in a week. You got to make sure that your AC unit, your heating system, your plumbing, your electrical systems, everything is working the way that it is supposed to. So head online, leecompany.com/plus. The best part, Lee Company Plus members receive up to 20% off on every visit, and you enjoy priority service. What's not to like about this? Learn more online at leecompany.com/plus. Get that peace of mind for as little as $14 a month. Platinum home protection starts with a Lee Company Plus membership. That's Lee Company, all you need. Ramon and Will, the 104.5 The Zone, fueled by Scooters Coffee. Ramon on his way to Gainesville. Myself, Will Bowling, 615-737-1045. There was an interesting piece from a national NFL writer who has linked a trendy candidate to the Tennessee Titans. Interesting. We'll talk about it coming up here in 15 minutes. Stephen A. Smith really embarrassed himself yesterday. This is bad even for him. So, of course, Stephen A. is everywhere now. He's doing a political show on satellite radio. He is everywhere on ESPN, host of First Take with a revolving chair of guests. So last week, Cam Newton on that show called the Patriots fool's gold. And Mike Vrabel and Drake May were both asked about it on weekly radio hits on WEEI in Boston. So Drake May responded about Cam Newton's comments. Cam Newton, by the way, who was like Drake May's idol growing up, being from the Charlotte area and Cam Newton being obviously a Panthers legend, said, I don't even know what show he's on. I think they get paid to make remarks and make certain comments, so I just worry about what people in our organization think and worry about what we think and what my teammates think. People are going to have different opinions. I'm just going out there on Sunday and worrying about ourselves. Drake made, he wasn't trying to be critical, wasn't overly negative, just said like, yeah, I don't know what show Cam's on. I haven't heard that, but okay, cool. And moved forward. Stephen A. Smith took this very personally on yesterday's episode of First Take. Here you go.
Say about this kid, he can run it, he's tough, he's poised, and he's absolutely dynamic in the pass game. And this team under Mike Vrabel can win the AFC Championship.
He's also a liar. He's also a liar. First of all, let me tell you, it's not to brag, listen. Pardon the Interruption is the #1 show on ESPN spanning 20 plus decades. First Take is the #1 morning show, 13 years and counting. April will be 14 years. Don't tell me you an athlete and you don't know that. Don't tell me you an athlete and you don't know that Cam Newton ain't on the show. You lying. That's #1. #2, I'm going to take it to a more serious tone with that because I get where you're coming from, RC, and I don't disagree with you. But how about athletes looking out for athletes? I remember when there was a time when it was so much media that we were saying, athletes, once you're not playing anymore because of your expertise, y'all should be on TV. The opportunity should be there. One of the problems is sitting here right in front of y'all, right? This is First Take. There's nothing that I know about football that they haven't taught me. I was a reporter. Ain't play no damn football. Don't tackle me. Don't hit me. No, I don't want it. You understand what I'm saying? I sit up there and I learn from these folks, the people that played in this game, that, when it's over, what are we looking for? What do we want to do? And the media offers former professional athletes opportunities that corporate America, for the most part, ain't doing. But a professional athlete performing because he in his feelings, because somebody might have critiqued him, or some weak-ass reporter or pundit on radio gonna ask the question out of context. Out of context. They misquote Cam, all right, because like Cam said, he was talking about the Patriots, not him. And you're going to ask the question, well, ask it accurately instead of misrepresenting Cam Newton. And if you're a player, how about knowing that, Drake May, you were at Carolina. We like what we're seeing from you now. We didn't see that last year in New England. We damn sure didn't see it in North Carolina. This brother right here is a national champion.
Yeah, it's Stephen A. Smith yesterday on First Take. He's pointing to Cam Newton at the end of it, saying this brother right here is a national champion. I don't even know where to begin with this. First of all, that's all it took to get you to go on like a 2-minute rant, Stephen A. You're better than this, first of all. But then again, I don't really know if he is, because this is kind of what he does. This is the theater of being a personality and being used to doing a solo show, like literally I'm doing right now. But I'm going to not get outraged over little things that have no reason to be outraged about. Like, yes, Stephen A. Smith is performance art. He is theater. But this is not the hill to die on. This is why podcasts And expert shows doing actual analysis about actual football are leaving shows like this from legacy media companies in their dust. We have got more options than we ever have before. It is easy for us. If you're watching us right now, 104.5 The Zone TV, you may have us on your smart TV. You didn't have that option 10 years ago. You didn't have that option like 5 years ago. You may have us on your laptop as you get ready for work. That may have been First Take back then. Not to say that we are taking away from people, but again, like, if I want to go learn something about football, there are very few ESPN daily shows that I am going to go get high-level analysis. NFL Live is terrific. There are a lot of really good people at ESPN, really smart people. I'm not going after the network as a whole, but these lowest common denominator, low-hanging fruit, just entertainment-based sports shows have a lot more options of what people can actually watch that are taking away from whatever in the world that is. Like, of course Drake May doesn't know. Like, do you think Drake May, when he gets to the facility at 7 a.m. to watch film, a facility that he leaves probably around like 6 or 6:30, Monday through Friday, maybe with the exception of a Tuesday where you have a lighter day, do you think Drake May's popping on First Take? No, he's in the meeting room watching film. Like, I don't know what you expect Drake May to do to know who you are or what the show is. Even if he was watching something, I highly doubt he's watching whatever the heck that is.
Are you sure he doesn't just have it on DVR? He doesn't record it? Because Stephen A. Smith sure seems to think, though. This is why I don't watch First Take. I used to watch it back when it was good. Now all he does is yell.
Did. Yeah,
all he does is yell. If I want to hear somebody yell, I'll go somewhere else. That's all he does. Sure, he learns from his peers, but also he's learning from a peer in Cam Newton who hypes up Shadur over Drake May.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out on
Crazy.
that. I'm out on that.
Totally
I'll
crazy.
take the second take versus the first take.
I'm not a Stephen A. Smith hater. He was embarrassing on this one. Really embarrassing. Like, good analysis is not coming from big networks like this that have to appeal to everyone. Because some people do prefer this. They'd rather be entertained. They'd rather hear mindless debates. That's fine. There's a market for that. It is not for me. And I think that podcasts like Stephen Godfrey, College Football Inquirer, who's going to join us at 8 o'clock, football shows like Check the Mic with our friend Steve Palazzolo and Sam Monson, who are like doing analysis, who are teaching us stuff. We're talking football and not whatever, like performance art, whatever that is. Guys like Josh Pate, like, are leaving legacy media companies like this behind because they are doing higher level analysis that you're just not going to get on 3 and 4 letter networks. Coming up, hour number 2, Albert Breer talked about a potential head coach candidate for the Tennessee Titans and who he could maybe bring in as his OC. Albert Breer is halfway to a great idea for the Titans. I'm going to get you 100% of the way there. Coming up next.
Prince's Hot Chicken, the original hot chicken. They know a thing or two about hot, so they are bringing you the hottest moments of the week from Ramon and Will. Justin Hawkins here. This is a segment I like to call Prince's Hot Mic.
They're also on a 3-game winning streak right now, Kentucky that is, and their points average has gone up since that game. So they put up, 38 on Florida.
Yeah, and that's because, again, turnovers.
Father, 38-7 would make me a very happy man in Gainesville. I ain't gonna ask for too much after this, Heavenly Father.
I know it's Christmas season.
I know you got a lot of ask on your hand right now. But if you could just do for us what you did for Kentucky and Gainesville, I'll be all right, man.
All God's children said amen.
Hot mics and hot chicken. Prince's knows hot. Prince's Hot Chicken, the original hot chicken. 7:02, good morning, live from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Texans upset the Bills 23-19 last night for Thursday Night Football thanks to a clinic put on by Houston's defense as they rack up 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, both by cornerback Kalen Bullock, and a fumble recovery. Will Anderson Jr. had 2.5 sacks, and Daniel Hunter contributed 2 sacks as well. The Texans improved to 6-5 on the year. In NFL news, Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow was a full participant in practice once again yesterday, and Steelers quarterback Aaron Rodgers returned to practice yesterday in limited fashion after he suffered a fractured left wrist this past Sunday. This Sunday, the Titans continue their search for their first home win of the season as they host Sam Darnold and the Seahawks with a noon kickoff. Yesterday in Thursday's practice, Kevin Zeitler, Jahad Ward, Tajay Spears, Jeffrey Simmons, and Jarrell Baker Jr. all returned to practice. Meanwhile, wide receiver Alec Ironmaner did not practice once again with a hamstring injury. On Sunday, Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff gets you started right here on 104.5 The Zone at 9 a.m. Then Titans Countdown at 11 before Taylor Zarz or Coach Dave McGinnis take over for the call at noon. In college football tomorrow, number 20 Tennessee travels to Gainesville with a 6:30 p.m. kickoff against the Florida Gators. Mike Keith, Ramon Foster have the Vol Network call right here on 104.5 The Zone. And number 14 Vanderbilt, they host Kentucky at 2:30 on ESPN at First Bank Stadium. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Away we go into the 7 a.m. hour Friday morning here on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooter's Coffee at Ramon and Will, where you follow us and stream us on Twitter, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch. The comment section there, very active, very lively this morning. It's only going to get more so. You can hop in and also subscribe wherever you download podcasts to Ramon and Will. In 15 minutes, we talk with Brent Hubbs of VolQuest and On3. At 8 o'clock this morning, Stephen Godfrey joins us in the studio talking about the college football weekend and the college football coaching carousel. As always on Friday mornings at 9 a.m., Tate Matthews previews the high school football slate with us to begin the fourth and final hour, and Ron Slay will be here to get you ready for Tennessee, Florida as well. At 9:20. 615-737-1045. Ramon is out. He is on his way to Gainesville. I'm Will Bowling. Justin Hawkins, our producer. And we've got another piece of NFL literature about Titans head coach options. One that I enjoyed very much. So Albert Breer at SI.com did a mailbag where he was asked, do you think Robert Saleh becomes a head coach of the 2026 season or likely returns to San Francisco? If he leaves, who are some candidates that could replace him? Gus Bradley, Jeff Ulbrich, ? So, Albert Breer writes the following at SI.com. I think Robert Saleh is at least going to elicit interest and may well land a job. He'll interview well. He's very close with a lot of the Shanahan-McVay tree offensive coaches. So finding a good OC won't be a chore, which I like, and he'll be able to energize a franchise that's fallen on hard times. Quote, I could see the Titans or the Giants taking a long look at him, paired potentially with a Mike McDaniel, parentheses, if he doesn't make it in Miami, or Mike LaFleur to run the offense. Robert Saleh fits the bill. He wants another crack at being a head coach after going 20-36 with the Jets from 2021 to 2024. That record doesn't feel too bad now that we have some hindsight perspective. His interim replacement, Jeff Ulbrich, went 3-9 to finish 2024. Easton Freeze wrote about this a month ago at AtoZSports.com, saying just how good the Jets defense was with Saleh versus Ulbrich as well. In 2022, the Jets defense was 4th in total yards allowed. In 23, 3rd. And then in his 5 games coaching in 2024 before being fired, the second best defense of the NFL. The moment he left, they then ranked 18th in total yards for the rest of 2024. They've taken another step back this season, albeit with a big rebuild and without Sauce Gardner and Quinn Williams now there in New York. But I am curious about Mike McDaniel as the offensive coordinator and how people feel about this. Personally, I want more experience as a play caller than what Mike McDaniel would bring to the table. He only had 1 year as an offensive coordinator in San Fran. Now, he's had 4 years, obviously, he's the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. 1 year of experience in 2021. I think Albert Breer has got about 75% of the way there. 75% meaning that I'd be okay with this. If you promised me today on November the 21st, Robert Saleh is the next head coach of the Titans and Mike McDaniel is his offensive coordinator, I'd sign off on it. I'd say, okay, I think the Titans could do a lot worse at head coach and at offensive coordinator. I do think, though, that there is a guy out there with more experience who has developed a similar quarterback to what Cam Ward is. I was looking in just social media last night because I remember this coach was linked very strongly with Cam Ward in the draft process. And I found this from Matt Miller pre-draft on ESPN. Very quick clip, not groundbreaking stuff here, on why now fired Giants head coach Brian Daboll could be a fit for Cam Ward.
You have to give me a minute.
Okay.
Facebook logged down.
That's okay. But I do think that is my first choice. I think Brian Daboll's personality and Cam Ward's personality could not be a better fit. I can just say what it is, Justin. We don't have to play it. It's nothing crazy. It says Cam Ward is such a good fit for what Brian Daboll has done traditionally on offense, about how he has put Josh Allen in the best position to be successful. I think personality is really important here. Mike McDaniel may be the kind of coach for Cam Ward behind closed doors and just kind of acts differently in front of microphones or on the sideline. I don't see him just as a dude meshing as well with Cam as someone who is as fiery, as loud, and aggressive as Brian Daboll is. I see that guy getting through to Cam Ward loud and clear. And in the draft process, so did ESPN's Matt Miller.
When he's on the go, he's got that shortstop throwing motion that allows him to find passing windows no matter where he's at on the field. And the cool thing about Ward is we've actually seen him develop and get better at every stop throughout his college football career. So he's on an upward trajectory. That's what gets him at number 3 overall.
Yeah, the first quarterback off the board, going to the Giants at 3, is Cam Ward.
Yeah,
what's the thought behind that pick?
Yeah, Cam Ward is such a good fit for what Brian Daboll has done traditionally on offense. Think back to his days with Buffalo, the way he brought Josh Allen along as a young quarterback. Ward can get it done on the move.
Yeah, that's the point. Can you try to be Josh Allen light with Brian Daboll, the guy that has developed Josh Allen? I tend to believe more in Daboll's ability as a quarterback developer and his increased experience as a play caller. I just think experience is so critical for where the Tennessee Titans are right now. Guys who have done these jobs before and done them for a long time. The same experience they put in the front office. In Reggie McKenzie and Dave Ziegler to go with Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi. Kind of the Fab Four that you have in the Titans front office. That kind of experience of doing the job at a high level is what I want them to now prioritize on their coaching staff and at the head coach position. Let's go to the phones. Zach is in Hendersonville, our Shakespeare, if you will. Zach, I don't know if you were listening yesterday, but we had another poet call in who he didn't say your name, but he kind of challenged you because he kind of tried to give us a poem himself. You are the original. You have the floor to now officially respond.
Good morning, Will, Justin. I don't know who Johnny is. He tried, but Daddy's home. So I just have a few things to say about some Gators. Jabbar, he didn't catch that, Gaffney. Gator, Mike.
That's all. Okay.
Urban, credit card, Meyer. Percy, Cam Newton ratted you out, Harvin. I have a poem for the entire University of Florida. Gator Tale, a Florida player making bail, the last year playing every season, and we are going to end it by putting you through hell. The Big Orange will put you in a cell, and as Ron Slay says, lock the damn door. Oh, can you smell that smell? Smells like a dub, and we were going to let the Gators' bodies hit the floor. Hey, Will, Justin, guess what? It don't matter.
Vols by 50. There you go.
Mic drop. Y'all have a good one. Go Vols.
Zach in Hendersonville. It's well done. That's well done. We had some internal rhyming there. Shakespearean. You always just have to rhyme on the end of the phrase. I listened in seventh grade literature. Shout out. Internal rhyming scheme. Very good stuff. Well done, Zach in Hendersonville. That is the appetizer to a lot more Tennessee, Florida discussion. Brent Hubbs of AllQuest joins us next.
Smashville hockey. Around here, it can sound like a language of its own. But hey, if you can pronounce Demumbrian, then names like Yossi, Shea, and Marchessault will roll right off the tongue. Nashville Predators, only in Smashville.
One of the largest sports books east of the Mississippi, Circa Sports Kentucky, is now open. Catch all your favorite games on an 80-foot screen with stadium-style seating and live VSiN broadcast daily. Circa Sports, now open at the Mint Gaming Hall, Kentucky Downs.
My dad and I used to golf together all the time, but when he hurt his back, it was over.
To have your son want to spend time with you is amazing. That's why my chronic back pain has been so heartbreaking. Surgery, fused bones, long recovery. No way, not for me. A friend recommended stem cells, so I gave Kellum Stem Cell Institute a call.
I'm glad you're out on the course.
Yeah, it's really good.
Call the Kellum Stem Cell Institute today. Swing still looks just okay though.
Selling your home can be stressful, but it doesn't have to be. Get a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. There are no showings, no open houses, no stress. Work with the #1 real estate team in the U.S. and close with confidence. Go to markspain.com today.
Let's face it, buying a vehicle should be straightforward and stress-free, and that's exactly how Two Rivers Ford has been doing business for decades. This locally owned dealership has a non-commissioned sales team whose only focus is to find you the right vehicle at the right price without the pressure. So you'll actually have a fun car buying experience. Great prices, easy financing, and a non-commissioned sales team. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Ramon and Will, fueled by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone as your Friday morning continues. Ramon is on his way to Gainesville, which means he got me this morning, along with our producer, Justin Hawkins. I'm Will Bowling, joined as we are every week at this time by our good friend Brent Hubbs of All Quested on 3 on the sidelines for the Vol Network for Tennessee and Florida tomorrow night as well. Brent, just you and me this morning, and I can't be too mean to Ramon because he may be listening on his way to the airport as well. How are you this morning?
Well, that means we can be even more mean to Ramon this morning is what that means. No, I'm doing well. There's a lot of dust on the bottle since the last time Tennessee got it done in Gainesville, Florida. So we'll see if there can be some kind of celebration come late Saturday night in Gainesville if Tennessee can go down there and do something they haven't been able to do in a long time against a 3-7 team that's more talented than people give them credit to, but they've been unable to, or credit for, but they've been unable to finish anything all season long.
Well, Brent, I want to start with the question we asked Mike Keith yesterday because his answer to this, I never knew the details of. He told us that in 1992 for the Mose Phillips in the downpour game between Tennessee and Florida, he said on Kingston Pike at the studio where he was, there was no rain and that it was just a cell over Neyland Stadium. Brent, I had no idea that storm and literally the deluge of that Tennessee-Florida game was such a small little cell that was just over Neyland Stadium.
What was fascinating about that game, I was in the stands as a student. That was the fall of my freshman year. And the only time I sat in the stands as a student was my freshman year, because after that I was decided I wanted to try to do something in this crazy business we call broadcasting in some capacity. When you're set, and I had great seats for that game, by the way. I don't know how I won the lottery or won a draw. It was very different back then. You just had to go pick them up at the ticket office early. So I was sitting in the lower bowl in I don't know, maybe section D, something like that, throwing some ice at Eric Rhett and whoever I could find. I didn't get there, but I tried. But you could look up, and of course there was no Jumbotron on the north end. And the north end was very different in 92 than it is now. But you could see that cloud developing, and it was coming straight south, basically over Ayers Hall.
Okay.
You could see it. The sun was shining to the west, and it came straight down. I mean, from north to south, straight down. And you could see it coming. And, man, I mean, right at the end of the first half, it just opened up. And it absolutely came a deluge and just kind of camped out there for a bit. And then it went away. I mean, that game started in the sun and finished in the sun. But in the middle, there's one of the greatest highlights in Tennessee history as Mose Phillips goes down the sideline. The other thing about that game is Brent Musburger was calling that game on ABC, and if you go back and rewatch it, it rained so hard at the stadium, they actually lost their broadcast feed for a minute, and then when it came back, it was all grainy because it was raining so hard. Their cameras were nobody was prepared for it,
Sure.
And it just absolutely wiped them out for not a long time, but for a few minutes. And then when it came back, it was not even close to what it was supposed to look like because everything was just soaked. That's as hard of a rain in one small area as I can remember seeing in a long, long time, if not ever.
It was one of my favorite highlights forever. One of my favorite John Ward calls of in the downpour on that run as well. I absolutely love that game. Brent, when you look at the history of this matchup, obviously we've spoken about it all week. What happened to Nathan Peterman or, Josh Dobbs and Quentin Dormandy in Gainesville? That doesn't mean anything for Joey Aguilar, but there is an element of addressing the history and understanding what you're walking into that I imagine that conversation has been had. How do you think Josh Heupel has handled that this week to not be afraid of the environment you're walking into while also understanding the context of what this game means?
Well, ironically, I think you use that in a different context for this matchup than you would for a different game. And you use it from the standpoint of don't get caught up in what you saw with Florida and Kentucky 2 weeks ago. Don't get caught up in a 3-7 record. What you have to understand is this game is different. they're going to show. Florida's not rolling over. And I know some people have thought, well, they're not going to be able to get bowl eligible, and look what happened at Kentucky. I'm just telling you right now, I will be stunned if Florida rolls over and they don't show. They haven't played a game down there since October the 18th. It's a sellout. They're going to honor Urban Meyer. I mean, they're pulling out all the stops, as you expect them to do. But what you use the history with to the team is look at what's happened in years past. There is no lay down in this rivalry game. They expect to beat you. They don't have any concerns about beating Tennessee because they always beat Tennessee. That's how I would use it to motivate this team, more so than, well, it's been 10 tries since Tennessee has won down there. Some of you guys have played this game. You know what you're getting, blah, 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 blah. I would use it from a motivation standpoint to explain to them what they're walking into, despite Florida's record.
Brent, I was reading you guys at VolQuest.com and the matchup article I love every week that Rob Lewis does about the advantage on each side of the football game. When Tennessee runs, when Tennessee passes, and vice versa. And I noticed a nugget in this I couldn't believe. The Gators have the second worst, I believe it's yards per attempt in the SEC this year. It's 7.83 yards allowed in their pass game. And that being said, they have only faced one SEC team that ranks in the top 6 in the conference in pass offense. And that was last weekend against Ole Miss. Brent, obviously that doesn't matter if Joey Aguilar throws it to them. But what do you make of this matchup when Tennessee passes? And how do you think Joey Aguilar and Josh Heupel address some of the mistakes and some of the turnovers that have undone a lot of the good things that Tennessee has been able to do these past few weeks of the pass game?
Well, let's start with the back part of that question, and then that's addressing Joey Aguilar and the interceptions. And the thing Joey Aguilar has to understand is the next play is not a bad play. What you can't have is you can't not have a next play by throwing a silly interception. And what I mean by that is there are 2 of these last 4 interceptions, particularly 2 of them stand out to me. The one at the end of the first half against Oklahoma, he had some pressure around him. And instead of being able to step into the throw or just throwing it away, he tried to throw it 30 yards down the field just with an arm flick. Okay, well, that creates inaccuracy. He did the same thing against New Mexico State on the second interception. Somebody's at his feet. He can't step into the throw. He just kind of flips it with his arm about 25 or 30 yards downfield. It sails and ends up being an easy interception, What Joey has to do is the footwork can't get sloppy. And if you can't get yourself in a position to get your footwork the right way to step into a throw vertically, don't throw it vertically. Now, he threw the little 5-yard play to Star Thomas while somebody's draped all over him. Well, that's an easier throw to make. But go back to week 1 against Syracuse. What did Joey Aguilar do in the first half that was perplexing to everybody? The ball was high. The ball was high on some out patterns, and he missed some throws, and I wrote about it, and people were like, well, the receiver got their hand on it. Well, they're having to climb the ladder for everything, even on receiver screens. So when I asked Josh Heupel about it, Joey was not setting his feet very well in the RPO game. He was getting out of whack with his lower body. He has got to be more sound with his footwork and his lower body to be able to throw the ball accurately down the field. I think that's the thing he can address to himself. And he also has to understand it's okay if you take a sack. You don't want to, but it's okay if you get sacked. But more importantly, it's okay to throw it out of bounds and move on to the next play. And I think Joey's just gotten greedy and tried to force a couple things the last 2 weeks when he was not in a position to accurately throw the football. So he has to do that. That goes to my second point. Tennessee's got to protect up front in this game. All the stats, and those are great stats that Rob had, and he does do a great job with that matchup piece. But the thing they have to do is they've got to protect. We don't know what Wendell Moore is going to be able to do, how much he's going to play, or what his status is going to be. That's a Florida defense that has not recorded a bunch of sacks this year, but they had 5 last week against Trinidad Chambliss. Tennessee's going to have to protect the quarterback to give Joey Aguilar a chance to do things that he wants to do, throwing the football. And Tennessee's going to have to run to keep some balance. Tennessee's 1-3, when Aguilar has pass attempts of 35 or more in a game. So you got to be careful. Don't get just too pass happy. The last Tennessee quarterback to throw for 300 yards at Florida was a guy named Peyton Manning in 1997. I mean, Casey Clausen didn't sniff 300 yards in his 2 wins down there in 01 and 03. You're going to have to find a way to have some balance and run the football effectively, too, I think.
Brent Hubbs of Allquest, our guest this morning on Ramon and Will. To that point, Brent, in the run game, what are you hearing about Peyton Lewis's status? I know he's questionable last night on the injury report, and I'm with you and everything you've written about this running back rotation. It makes no sense to me how Tennessee has just gone totally away from riding the hot hand, and it feels choreographed a lot of the times. They're putting running backs in or out of the game. Do you have any understanding of why Josh Heupel is doing that? Is he trying to keep guys on the roster? Is it their promises they made before the season? And does that still happen tomorrow night in the Swamp, where you're making these kind of pre-planned rotations at running back when Deshaun Bishop has had the hot hand a lot of times?
Well, they've always had, not always, but I should say Darrell Sims the last 2 seasons has always had a plan, second series of the game, to get the second tailback in the game. So if you go back and look last year, even with Dylan Sampson, a lot of times when Bishop was healthy, now when Bishop got hurt, it changed. But when Bishop was healthy, you go back to Oklahoma. I think Bishop's first carries in the Oklahoma game, Tennessee was coming off their own goal line on the third offensive set of the game. So they've always rotated after 2 series. The difference last year and to this year is they were rotating 2. This year they're rotating 3. So because of the heavier rotation, if you choreograph it, which is exactly what they're doing to start the game, Bishop could get, like he did last week, he got 4 carries on the first drive. They threw the interception. On his second drive, he got 1 carry, a 1-yard touchdown run, and then he sat till the second quarter. And I don't like that, to be honest with you, because if a guy comes out of the gate hot, like Bishop was, I thought, last week, you keep running him. And then you rotate whenever you rotate. But they have been pretty choreographed in what they're doing in the first half. With Peyton Lewis being questionable, my guess is Peyton Lewis is probably going to be more of an emergency deal only. He's practiced very little this week. I think he'll travel. I think he'll still be questionable, and I think he'll probably be available, but it would be in a limited role. So I think the rotation shrinks. So it's just Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas. You'll see a rotation in the first half, but I think they will get to the, quote, hot guy faster than they have in most games this year, where they're trying to rotate 3 guys, I guess for the purpose of keeping everybody involved, happy, whatever the case may be. I just felt like that. I still feel like Deshaun Bishop is better carries 15 through 25 than he will be 1 through 15. I just think that's his running style, Will.
Brent, when you look at this Tennessee defense, it feels like as maybe the offense with the turnovers has taken a small step back, the defense is quietly taking a step forward. And just 5 missed tackles the last 2 weeks. How has Tennessee gone about addressing this, Brent? Have they done things differently in the week of preparation? Is it just young guys kind of learning on the job and getting better? What do you think is behind Tennessee starting to finally take some better angles and not give up as many explosives just from missing tackles?
Well, it depends on who you talk to over there, Will.
Okay.
Players have said that there's been a greater emphasis placed on tackling the last few weeks. Josh Heupel acknowledged after the Oklahoma game during the open date that they did some things different in practice. Tim Banks suggested that they really didn't, and they always emphasize that they just performed better. Whatever the case may be, whatever they've done, they have certainly created better angles, and they've put themselves in better position to make tackles, particularly with the first team. I did not think in the fourth quarter their angles and their tackling was very good against New Mexico State.
Sure.
But everybody, it's a 42-9 game, and it's a bunch of guys who hadn't played, so everybody just kind of throws that out. I think the other thing that's helped a little bit too, Will, is you haven't played, your last 2 opponents haven't really scared you over the top. So you can play a little more downhill. So instinctively, you're just kind of coming downhill. I'm going to be curious to see. Florida's not a big play offense. I think they've got something like 11 completions of 30 yards or more this year. They do not have a run of over 30 yards. They don't have a 30-yard rush.
Wow.
So they have not been a big play offense. They've been a little more of a control deal. Now, they hit a big one last week in the passing game. But does Tennessee continue to kind of crowd forward and play things a little tighter at the line of scrimmage? Do they play more aggressive? You look at Ty Redmond. I don't think the last 2 weeks Ty Redmond's been afraid of getting the ball thrown over his head. So he's squatted on the slants a little bit more. He's played tighter coverage there. The result is he's got like 5 pass breakups the last 2 games. Does he continue to play with that aggressiveness on the road against Florida, or does he back up a little bit? Same thing with the safeties. If your first step is backwards, then you have a chance to get out of angle. If your first step is to come downhill and run the alley, then Idris Farouk looks a lot better, as he did against Oklahoma, than what you saw him play against some other teams, namely Kentucky, where they really struggled, some other games where they averaged 12 missed tackles a game. So part of it's who you're playing a little bit. Part of it, too, is I do think that they're playing at better angles. They're forcing the ball back into the middle of the field where their help is. They haven't given up a soft corner as much. All of those things contribute to better tackling. We'll see if that continues this week in Florida.
Brent, we've been on Jermod McCoy watch for quite some time. We had like a ceremonial final Boo Carter question with Austin this week. It feels like we're getting to that point now on Jermod McCoy playing football for Tennessee, and maybe this is our ceremonial final Jermod McCoy question, Brent. With him out again this weekend, is it safe to assume that his career as a Vol is over?
I think you could probably stop making the popcorn for the watch party.
Okay.
I do. I just feel like at this point, I mean, why would you play next week and that be your only game? Because you're probably not going to play in a bowl game if you're him. You probably never were. And just at this point, why play? I do think this, and I know some people are going to say, he was never going to play, and he just, he took money, and it's, blah 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 blah. And I get all that. I will say this: for 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks, everybody you talked to said he did more the last 2 weeks than he's done the entire time since the injury, trying to ramp up to play and to play this game and to play the Vanderbilt game. I think he's dealing with some knee soreness as he's ramped it up, and I think as he's talked to some close to him, I just think the decision has been, you probably ought to focus on the Senior Bowl or the Combine or whatever your next step is in your NFL journey. There's nothing official from Jermod McCoy. This is all speculation on my part. But I just think if you're out this week and you're not going to be a part and you didn't practice this week, that tells me you're not ramping it up for the last game of the season either. So I don't think he's going to play at Tennessee, which is extremely unfortunate. He has tried to get back. I do believe that. I don't think he's ever mailed it in on this program or the fans or the team. I just don't think he's healthy enough to play, or he doesn't feel comfortable enough to play. Let me rephrase that.
Well, Brent, in the way that you evaluate this defense this year, I feel like there is always going to be, and maybe I'm wrong for even giving this a platform, but the fire Tim Banks crowd is always just going to want to fire Tim Banks. Like even last year when Tennessee goes to Ohio State, there was an element of the fan base that I think overreacted to that and held him too personally accountable for things that are kind of out of his control. I think the same can be said about losing, in a lot of ways, your top 3 corners from last year, and Ricky Gibson, Jermod McCoy, and the version Tennessee had of Boo Carter last year, they've not had this year really in any context, Brent. What does that mean for Tim Banks moving forward as the defensive coordinator at Tennessee? For the folks that put a lot of pressure and criticism on him, I get there's always going to be that loud opinion, but where does the kind of the balance lie, I guess, Brent, in your mind between, yes, Tim Banks has not been perfect, but also this defense was always going to have some challenges this season based on what they lost from last year?
Well, I mean, first of all, he should get credit for what they did last year because he's the reason they went to the playoffs. Okay, and that's whether a fan wants to believe that or not. Without what they do last year, Tennessee's not a playoff team. That offense did not get them to the playoffs. That was the defense that carried them into the college football playoffs. You knew that, you thought there would be some type of a little bit of a step back this year. But you think about last December where they thought they were, and it was going to be an all-conference corner and Jermod McCoy, maybe an All-American corner, who's going to, projected first-round draft pick. Ricky Gibson, who you thought was going to have a chance to be an all-conference corner this year. He put on 25 pounds. He was a different-looking player, had a really good preseason. You lose him 19 snaps into the season for the year. And then Boo Carter, as you mentioned, didn't take the step. And, I mean, you go get Colton Hood, even if Boo Carter doesn't take a step. If Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson are healthy, what does that secondary look like if you're playing Gibson, McCoy, and Colton Hood at nickel?
Oof.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
And so I mean they were building a lot around those guys, and then they don't have them, and it has an effect. And to Tennessee's credit, to Tim Banks' credit, he's never made an excuse for it. I don't think Tim Banks, not because he knew something, but I think Tim Banks' belief from January on was, I'm not going to have Jermod McCoy. So how do we play this thing? Well, we're going to play it with Colton Hood. We're going to play it with Ricky Gibson, and then Boo Carter is going to take a step. When Boo Carter had a solid spring, remember they worked him on offense. He was all engaged. And then in July, he decided to do whatever it was he decided to do by not showing up. And that changed things there. I think the other thing that gets overlooked a bit with this defense, and maybe it was the workload that they had early in the year, the injury. I mean, Bryson Eason has had an okay year. He's not had the year we thought he would have. I thought he was a guy who could climb some draft boards. He's been banged up. He's played too many snaps because of the injuries. They have not gotten the inside push on their defensive line that I thought they would get. And they haven't played the run as well on the defensive line as I thought they would for whatever reason. So, there's just been a variety of things. But at the end of the day, I mean, Tim Banks making $2 million to get it fixed. And everybody's going to hold that, rightfully so. I mean, he's getting paid a lot of money. And I do think it's a defense that's gotten better the last couple of weeks. I'm curious to see how they play these last 2 weeks of the regular season, as maybe they found their footing a little bit. But then you look at that, and your best tackler at middle linebacker is playing with double turf toe. At linebacker, and Arion Carter, he's not been himself the last 4 or 5 weeks. It's just one of those years where they have been, unfortunately, really beat up and really banged up, and they just haven't executed well. I think that's the other thing for fans is there was just too many occasions where they looked lost on defense in the back end. Guys are just kind of throwing their hands up, looking at each other like, how's that guy running wide open? Well, we busted that coverage. We busted the zone coverage on 3rd and 18 for a first down, et cetera, et cetera. Those types of things, I think, could sort of jump out. But did the defense play well enough to beat Oklahoma? I mean, you take away the 10 points the offense gave them when you talk about the fumble and then the interception right at the end of the first half. They give up 23 points in that game. Is that enough to win? If I'd have told you going in, Oklahoma scores 23, who are you taking?
Tennessee.
Right?
Absolutely.
You're taking Tennessee. Yeah, they gave up the 4th down against Georgia, but Josh Heupel didn't exactly try to put the game away when they had the turnover, and then Tennessee misses the field goal. Gave up too many points. They've given up too many points. They've also given, Tennessee a chance, and Tennessee's had a chance with their offense to win some games. They just didn't get it done. And it's a defense that's not played to the standard that Tim Banks and everybody at Tennessee has. They've got to go in this offseason in the portal, get them some help, and then they've got to retool some things moving into next year.
He is Brent Hubbs of VolQuest, joining us Friday mornings at 7:20 here on the show, on the sideline for Tennessee and Florida, courtesy of the Vault Network, of course, here on the station tomorrow night. Brent, have a good time. Enjoy it. Not a lot of gap between fans and players and people on the sideline, as you know. I imagine it's going to feel like a bandbox down there, but have a good time. Have a good call tomorrow night.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Will. Have a great weekend, buddy.
Yes, sir. Brent Hubbs of VolQuest joining us this morning, presented by our friends at Ascend Federal Credit Union, your financial partner for every stage of life. Yeah, you were like an arm's length away from students down there. Being a sideline reporter in that environment, I would have to force myself to just look at the field, don't look at the fans, don't interact with the fans, look at the field. Anyway.
Well, they're sure going to interact with you.
Brent Scott, you'd be surprised on some of the interactions I've had down there with Titans games. Brent has more maturity and self-control than me. Tomorrow, obviously, the college football weekend. Let's take a look at Sunday. The game of the weekend of the NFL features an AFC South team. We'll talk Colts, Chiefs. Get a little NFL weekend preview for you coming up next. Ramona will wrap it up hour number 2 in the first half of your Friday morning. Stephen Godfrey coming in studio here in 10 minutes, breaking down the college football weekend and coaching carousel and whatever in the world else we get to. I don't really go in with much of a plan when Godfrey comes in. We just kind of roll. And then, you snap your fingers and an hour is over. So we'll do that coming up in 10 minutes. Tate Matthews, Aaron Slay still to come in hour 4 as well. Indy and Kansas City is the game of the weekend in the NFL. And if you had told me that before the season, I would have laughed at you. I would have thought, is Kansas City still undefeated? Are they going for 17-0 or something? No, I wouldn't have thought that was happening either. I would have thought that was more likely than Daniel Jones becoming Indy's version of that one season of Kerry Collins, though. That we had here in Tennessee. These are the 2 top 10 scoring offenses, 32.1 points per game, leading the NFL for Indy, 25 points per game for Kansas City. The Chiefs have totally regressed in one-score games. They are 0-5 in one-score games this year. Is that regression over the last 5 years? Or is that something they can still flip the script on this year? This is probably going to be a one-score game, so we're about to find out. The Chiefs went 12-0 last season in one-score games, including the playoffs. NFL record streak of 17 consecutive wins in one-score games. This is not a great run defense in Kansas City. Meaning, Jonathan Taylor, buddy, if you want to be MVP, this is the kind of game you have to carry your team to victory in. It's not fair. It is the reality of it. If you are not a quarterback, you have got such a high burden of proof, such a high bar to clear in order to convince the NFL that you are the most valuable player. Showcase games like this mean more. Games where good broadcast crews are there, a lot of the country's watching. Prime time, typically the, other time that you do this, but not a primetime game, but a showcase game. Jonathan Taylor is on a 17-game pace to post 2,378 scrimmage yards and 29 touchdowns. That would be more than each of the 4 non-QB MVP winners since 2000. 2012, Adrian Peterson, 2006, LaDainian Tomlinson, Sean Alexander, and Marshall Faulk, and more scrimmage touchdowns than all but Tomlinson's NFL record of 31 touchdowns in his 2006 MVP season. I think that this is a bad matchup for Kansas City, too. I think Indy is going to cover. I think Kansas City wins, if I'm going to split the needle on that, on covering a 3.5-point underdog spread, but also losing the game, because Kansas City has actually really struggled in defending play action this year. That is the weakness of their defense. Daniel Jones has completed over 70% of his pass attempts, averaging 5th most yards per attempt on play action, 9.2 yards per attempt. Tyler Warren, 2nd most receptions of the NFL on play action, 25 of them. Michael Pittman, 4th most. The Kansas City Chiefs have allowed a league-high 81% completion percentage against play action this season and 2nd most yards per attempt at 11. Kansas City's pathway to winning this game is them being so desperate at 5-5 that they do something they haven't done this season, and that's stop play action passing and defend the run better. They're 18th against the run in terms of yards per carry. Andrew Siciliano put this out yesterday. Easton Freeze actually just retweeted it. Good timing. Easton's reading my mind of what we were about to talk about. Andrew Siciliano said via NFL Plus, strange but true, worst records against teams currently in a playoff spot. Saints are 0-7 against teams currently in the playoffs. Titans 0-6, Cardinals 0-6 on teams currently holding a playoff spot. Jets 0-5, and then the Chiefs. The Kansas City Chiefs are 0-5 this season against teams that are currently in a playoff spot. Are we respecting them and waiting on them to explode because they have an Arrowhead KC logo on the side of their helmets? Or are they really that team? I think we find out on Sunday. Massive pressure on Mahomes and the Chiefs and that defense in stopping one of the best play-action passing attacks in football, something they have struggled significantly to do.
I could see this being kind of like a shootout. The Colts' defense, as far as the passing attack, is not very good. They're near the bottom of the league. They give up almost 300 yards a game. And then Kansas City's offense, they haven't suffered. It's that defense, like you spoke of. I can see them stacking the box, trying to limit Jonathan Taylor, forcing Daniel Jones to throw it, finding Tyler Warren, finding Alex Pierce down the field. I can see this turning into that kind of game, and I think that bodes well more for the Chiefs because that's just kind of the way they've always been. But yeah, I mean, they got to prove that they can win a game this season for a one-score game. I see them winning though.
Chiefs?
Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah,
I think it's a field goal win for KC.
If this was in Indianapolis, it'd be maybe a little bit different story. Also, the spread would be different too. The Colts would get at least 3 points for being the home.
Yeah. Coming up, Stephen Godfrey joins us, previewing Tennessee and Florida. He may calm down your battered Vols syndrome if you need that. 50 cc's of Godfrey next.
8:02, good morning, live from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Texans upset the Bills 23-19 last night for Thursday Night Football thanks to a clinic put on by Houston's defense, racking up 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, both by cornerback Kalen Bullock, and a fumble recovery as well. Will Anderson Jr. had 2.5 sacks on the night, and Daniil Hunter contributed 2 sacks as well. The Texans improved to 6-5 on the year. College hoops last night, Tennessee beat Tennessee State 89-60. Jacoby Gillespie led the way with 17 points, and Vanderbilt put up 109 points on Texas Southern in their 35-point win. This Sunday, the Titans continue their search for their first home win of the season as they host Sam Darnold and the Seahawks with a noon kickoff. Kevin Zeitler, Jahad Ward, Ty J. Spears, Jeffrey Simmons, and Darrell Baker Jr. all returned to practice yesterday. Meanwhile, Alec Ayermanner did not practice once again yesterday with a hamstring injury. On Sunday, Lee Company Countdown to Kickoff gets you started right here on 104.5 The Zone at 9 a.m. Then Titans Countdown takes over at 11 before Taylor Zards or Coach Dave McGinnis have the call for noon. In college football, number 20 Tennessee travels to Gainesville tomorrow with a 6:30 p.m. Central kickoff as they take on the Florida Gators. Mike Keith, Ramon Foster have the call on Vol Network right here on 104.5 The Zone. And number 14 Vanderbilt, they host Kentucky at 2:30 on ESPN right here in Nashville at First Bank Stadium. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Ramona Will, fueled by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone, into the second half of the show. Hour number 3. Ramon Foster on his way to Gainesville. Justin Hawkins making the show happen. I'm Will Bowling, joined in studio by our good friend Stephen Godfrey. You hear him on the College Football Inquirer, wherever you download podcasts. You hear him everywhere this time of year, and especially during this coaching carousel. I am very grateful you had time to come in. What's going on? Your phone is not blown up or had any smoke come out.
I am on the phone like a silly person. I was going to say a bad word for radio, but like I always hate it when people are on their phone in front of me, like in a disrespectful way. But I just have to keep it open at all times.
Sure.
Yeah. So I am. I think by the sound of my voice or the lack of energy, like it is definitely the next to the last week of the regular season. We are engaged in a 3-way death stare on Lane Kiffin right now in the SEC. And we're going to get into all that because I'm going to try and make Tennessee fans feel better. Only the smart ones, though. Hey, camera, you stupid ones in chat, if you're sitting here complaining about Josh Heupel, I ain't got nothing for you.
Fair.
There's so many other searches going on, too. Y'all, there's so much other stuff going on.
I have in my notes here, too, for the last segment, like the fact that Auburn is running a quiet and seemingly kind of competent coaching search.
I'll break that in a second.
Okay.
Not the news. I'm saying I'll break that silence because they are sort of orbiting the Lane Kiffin saga, and I'll get into it in a second. We need this Lane Kiffin thing to be done for those of us in the working media, which I know everyone out there has so much sympathy for us. We should get a line on the flag, like, blue for cops, like first responders. I don't know what our color would be. Anyway, white, because we're all cowards and libs. Anyway, we are exhausted right now. Do you want to start with Kiffin or do you want to start with the Vols?
Let's start with Kiffin. Let's do Tennessee and Vandy coming up here in 15 minutes.
If you were a Vol fan today, you should enjoy every aspect of your life that doesn't involve Lane Kiffin.
I'll tell you what. I know that Lane Kiffin has changed. I know that his because that's again where I'm going with this. That like I know that a lot of his habits and a lot of his off-field stuff is not as much a part of his life anymore. I'm happy for him. Let's say that he seemingly has settled down for Kiffin, maybe not for most humans, for rational humans, and has grown up. All of this last 2 weeks has thrown a lot of that out the window. Maybe he is the same guy that left in the middle of the night in 2009.
Yeah. You had me there for a minute on the first part of your sentence. But
that's what I kind of felt like. And then this week with everything, with his Twitter, with his definitely pre-recorded hit on McAfee, because that's where you go now, is if you don't want to be asked good questions, is ESPN to talk about Your coaching.
Did you like the Jimmy Sexton special that he leaked? That Ole Miss might be. So this is where we're at with that standoff. Lane's camp leaks to friendly media, and I'll leave it at that. That Ole Miss might be affected if they enacted some sort of pushback on Lane to say, you can't coach. Because that's a whole thing we'll get to in a second. This thing is so big and broad. And
it's got a lot of layers to it.
Increasingly dumb. And so Lane's camp leaked to the media that, the selection committee might punish Ole Miss if they don't have their head coach, even at 11-1 in the SEC, which is farcical. Now, I'm not defending the selection committee. They have proven themselves.
They had a rough week.
This year has been especially stupid. And it really, not that they're not going to do this, because I actually just got a press release from ESPN talking about engagement's up. Everyone loves the selection show. And it's like, no, you don't. You're making a farce of yourselves. But they want that TV programming. They want that, it starts basically at Halloween. So it's like they get 7 reality shows.
Right.
Anyway, Lane's camp leaks basically to push back because there's a real sentiment. Sentiment's not even the strongest correct word here. Ole Miss is not going to take this laying down. And it's not that they are. I want to set the table on a couple things here. And you tell me if I'm running too long on this.
Okay.
There's this idea right now that Ole Miss is going to sort of rend their garments and beat their chest in pure agony if Lane Kiffin leaves for LSU or Florida, which as of this writing, as we say in journalism, at 8:08 Central on Friday morning, if I had to pick a destination that wasn't Ole Miss, it would definitely be LSU.
Feels that way.
I have a whole other question that I'm going to pose to a lot of people in the industry when the smoke clears, which is why Florida fell off the way it did in this particular story, because it's happening in other aspects. And I'm just curious what the reception to Florida is right now if something's going on. And this is where I'm just asking questions.
Sure.
Like, I'm not doing the Godfrey bit right now. I'm like, actually just like, this is where I'm like, all right, explain to me why it was a 3-horse race and then one just falls so far out of the field. Okay. So we're at this Ole Miss LSU impasse. Ole Miss is not going to die. They feel very confident about their position.
Agreed.
I'm probably the most critical person I know in the national media about my alma mater. I went to the University of Mississippi. I wrote a column for the Washington Post yesterday about this. Their internal alignment has been so alarmingly competent the last 5 years, especially. I think the AD, Keith Carter, is the best AD I've ever seen at Ole Miss. Some individuals who probably don't want their name on the radio have been aligned in a way that I've never seen in terms of its efficacy in getting NIL and getting the apparatus around a major SEC program to work effectively.
Sure.
In let's get the kids here, let's identify. And now some of this, now I jump over to the other side. I'm not saying Lane isn't responsible for this success. What I'm trying to figure out, what a lot of people are talking about in the industry is how much authorship are we going to give these head coaches?
Right. He didn't do this by himself.
The money and people are just like, well, man, LSU's got money, Florida's got money, Tennessee's got money, Georgia got money. Sure, absolutely. Do you know what they were doing at LSU 3 years ago? Do you know what the NIL strategy was? Do you remember this? They had a in-house policy of essentially socialism. They were saying, we don't want it to be a problem in our locker room, the one that Brian Kelly never shows up at 9 months in the offseason while he's off in Martha's Vineyard or doing God knows what with God knows who. Good job, Scott Woodward. Enjoy your consulting gig. They were just going to say, we're going to pay everybody the same little like couple $1,000 stipend. So socialism for thee, not me.
Right.
It kills me. This is where LSU, with all of its deep pockets, LSU is a university and athletics program that was literally crafted by a governor, Huey Long, to be a supreme entity in a state public university system for football. Anybody who's listening who's even remotely familiar with Louisiana, this is not a joke. And that's how poor they were with implementing the funds and the compensation for players. You can say a lot about Ole Miss, Mississippi, all that. I got hell because my editor in the Washington Post used Mississippi instead of Ole Miss. I had like 50 dudes in my comments last night with their very sensitive flag feelings. Whatever you feel about them or wherever they ranked in the 90s or the aughts, they have been one of the programs that have correctly identified and diagnosed this situation of portal and NIL. And we tend to only look at the ne'er-do-wells, the usurpers like Indiana.
Right.
That's another one that everybody jumps to. Vanderbilt is one that we talk about locally on a different scale. But there are other cases that are emerging. Georgia is doing this. It's just that Georgia was winning national titles without this apparatus. And so we don't really notice. We can't discern the change.
Sure.
Okay? Oregon's another one. Oregon was a nationally relevant program. They're still doing a really good job at this. This idea that Lane Kiffin's going to walk out the door and Ole Miss is going to die. Let's talk about Auburn now. So do you know where I'm headed with this?
John Summerall sweepstakes?
You got it.
Between Auburn and Ole Miss?
You got it. So I would say right now, if, again, what is today's date? It's Friday, the 21st. If I had to pick a destination for Tulane's John Summerall, regardless of Tulane's candidacy for that 12 spot in the playoff, he's going to go to Auburn. However, he is a former Ole Miss assistant. There is a lot of mutual interest there, a tremendous amount of mutual interest there, and Auburn has yet to that marriage has not yet been consummated between Summerall and Auburn. So there's a lot of waiting and hedging. Now, if you're an Auburn fan listening to this, I am not saying that he's electing to wait on one for the other. It's just that you want to take a look at the widest field of view as a candidate.
Sure.
Okay. So why then are we making fun of Lane a little bit for the drama in the circus? It's because of the drama in the circus. You don't see John Summerall's relatives popping up randomly and getting real estate rumors on message boards in different SEC towns. Lane Kiffin is one of one, not so much as a coach. And there's a million different directions we can go on this, and you can guide
for
me.
sure.
But Lane Kiffin loves this moment.
He does.
I have been on this show before, maybe maybe 2 months ago, where I said, like, it was the moment South Florida beat Florida.
Right.
And I said, all right, here we go again. This one's going to be bigger because Ole Miss at the time was really gaining momentum. At one point, I think they were top 5 before the Georgia loss.
Yep.
Lane is going to make this about Lane for as long as Lane can. I have said that sentence 100 times on the Yahoo show, on my show, Phantom Island, phantomisland.show. Subscribe today.
Yep.
On this show, everybody else. He is going to continue to do that. The difference now will, and let's take it back to the Vols for a second, that you don't have to deal with this right now. And I know you're not in playoff contention, and everybody wants to get mad about that. He's doing this to the detriment of a playoff team at this moment.
Maybe their best chance to win a national title ever.
So there is since integration happened, that's not a joke.
Literally, yeah.
There's a meeting today between Kiffin and the AD, Keith Carter. I am not going to go out on the radio or in public and media and say this is the ultimatum moment.
Sure.
But we are continuing to head, we're cresting.
Yeah.
So there's a situation in which that is not off the table. That is not off the table because Ole Miss is going to defend their position.
Right.
Like any entity would. And if this boggles you or you feel weird about this, take the name Ole Miss out. Put the name Tennessee, put the name Georgia, put the name anybody else in, okay? Because we are talking about potentially an 11-1 SEC team or at worst a 10-2 that would still open on the road in the playoff. Now, anyone listening to this who's an SEC or a Big Ten fan understands the currency of a playoff bid. They are not going to let him take a job in the league in any capacity and then also coach this team to the playoffs. And that's what he probably wants the most. Lane waffles, and what he wants the most is attention.
Always.
But the second most thing is I do feel like Lane thinks I should level up by the old standard. And so that's where we're at. Now, Ole Miss is not going to do that. I will tell the audience this. I will say this out in the media as a reporter, whatever you want to call me. Ole Miss is not going to let him assume that position of being the head coach in waiting in transition. What the hell do you even call that?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? At Louisiana State or Florida or the Tennessee Titans, okay? And coach this team through the playoffs. A home game in the first round potentially is what you're looking at.
Yeah, for sure.
They're not going to do that. The name to watch there is the former New York Giants head coach Joe Judge, who's on staff. Ironically, weirdly, this is how strange it would get for Ole Miss. They would go into the college football playoff for the first time being coached by a Yankee who went to Mississippi State.
That's ironic. Extremely ironic. It is so convoluted. There's got so many layers to it, like you mentioned, and you laid them out well. It is their best chance to win a national title, and you're paying him a lot of money to kind of make a mockery of what is everything he's built to. Like, and everything has led to this finally being the year where you do get over the hump. And then I did not, until I heard his answer after it was after the Florida game on Sunday, when he again brought up the crowd.
Yeah,
in the Washington State game.
Which is a real thing. I was at the Wazoo game.
100%. And we've
it's a
talked
real
about this.
thing. And I was in Athens last weekend because Phantom Island had a live show there.
Yeah.
And one of our listeners, I brought my family down. My kids' godparents are in Athens, and I'm originally from Georgia. And a listener very generously donated some tickets. We were like 16th row behind the home bench in Sanford Stadium. And let me tell y'all something. I'm going to be really honest about this for a second, objectively.
Yeah.
Because I also don't cheer for my alma mater. And I try to be as brutally honest as possible. There are levels to this thing.
Yes.
I haven't been to Knoxville in a couple years. I don't know if I'm shoot on site with Danny White or not. We'll figure it out. There are facilities. I would say Knoxville. I would say Athens. I don't want to add to this list superfluously. Tuscaloosa.
Yes.
That are environments above, just above standard right now.
LSU and Florida when they're good.
LSU and Florida when they're good. I personally feel like Baton Rouge has taken a step back in recent years. It's almost overdeveloped and it's lost some of its teeth.
That crowd also turns on you when things go badly.
It's Philly, yeah.
For sure.
I get what Lane Kiffin was talking about, and we can get into the size of stadiums or the torpor or tepidness of student sections. Georgia solved that. They have a time-based lottery sign-in system for their student section where you have to be there or you lose the access permanently.
Wow.
It's a very serious thing because, look, the reason I'm talking about Athens for a second is I'm from Georgia. UGA games were never intimidating in Sanford.
Ramon never lost there, and he said it before. He's like, that place wasn't loud.
It's a golf
And the
crowd.
open end of the stadium, too, lets a lot of the sound out, just
Not
the way
anymore.
the structure is built.
Y'all, let me tell you something.
It's different now.
And I have to text Ramon this. It was the most, and I go in there as an objective, neutral party.
Sure.
I don't care about Georgia or Texas from a fandom perspective. It was like trap music, trap music, trap music. We got Jeezy. And then they no, I'm serious. And then they're coming out of the tunnel, and they got the camera on them, and then it's Bob O'Reilly from The Who. And people are vibrating with energy. It's totally sold out. It's 100,000 people. I can see recruits that I could spit on them so close who are just dying, taking it all in.
Yeah.
Ole Miss has yet to replicate that.
Right.
But let's be honest for a second. You got money?
Are they ever going to?
You got money?
Yeah.
You're going to win. And Ole Miss has a better alignment with cash right now than 90% of college football.
It's true.
So what he's doing, I don't think is based. You brought up the student section thing. I'm going to be honest. I just think Lane is directionless and Lane interprets attention as value.
Yeah.
And attention is not always value, right? It's like a disruptive child. I have 3 kids, which means I have a middle kid, and the middle kid is very expressive to get attention. I'm going to do positive or negative,
right?
And that's kind of how Lane Kiffin operates. I think if he wants to compete for a national title in the shortest term possible, he stays where he's at now.
Right.
I understand completely him going to LSU, probably LSU, if not maybe Florida now as a distant third.
Sure.
I totally understand that as well. This idea that he's going to have his cake and eat it too, probably within the next 48 hours, a cruel reality is going to set upon him. All this to say, and I know we're going to talk about it in the next segment, if I'm a Vol fan, here's the reality. Lane Kiffin laid an egg, farted one out last year, and lost to Kentucky at home in a completely inexcusable game. He barely beat Wazoo at home at 11 a.m. He wants to talk about the student section. He is good for a game and a half, if not 2, games a season of inexplicable mismanagement.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that Saban rode his rear end about at Alabama is the emotional swing, because Saban's always about keeping it consistent and flat.
Right.
If he goes to LSU or Florida, here's what happens if Ole Miss goes 8-4 next year. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's what happens if he goes 8-4 with a massive NIL payroll at either one of those schools. They'll try and murder him.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where we're at.
Stephen Godfrey in studio. We will talk about Tennessee and Florida in the matchup in the Swamp that Tennessee has not won there since I was 6.
Oh, come on. Don't do that.
We'll also talk about Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt's near future as well. You said some things about Clark Lee the last time you were in here. There have been rumblings. There have been message board posts about high-level meetings at Vanderbilt over the past week.
That's because I yelled on the radio for a fact.
Perfect.
I'm taking total ownership of that.
We'll talk about that.
Anchor down.
Coming up next. Ramona Will, 104.5 The Zone. Ramon out on his way to Gainesville. Will bowling with Stephen Godfrey, talking college football. 6:30 tomorrow night. Tennessee looks to end 2+ decades of misery against the Florida Gators. Godfrey, you are very good at curing our what we call battered Vols syndrome. And speaking about these things as an impartial, non-emotional
As a
analyst.
19-year state resident, 20 next year.
That's right.
Davidson County taxpayer.
This is
endurer of your fan base's nonsense for 19 death cult years.
This is the final boss level of battered Vol syndrome, of bad emotions that we have mostly purged coming back.
Yeah.
It's also the worst Florida team Tennessee's probably played since the last time Ron Zook was there on the sideline. In what?
Yes.
Maybe not on
because
paper
this-
talent-wise, but just all things considered.
This is the thing that I think you should consider in context. It's freaking November.
Yeah.
Normally, even when Florida has a misstep year, in week 3, you don't know yet.
You're
right?
still scared.
The fact this game is being played so late, it just feels like a crime against the church. What are we doing here, folks?
I don't like it.
I don't like it at all.
End of an era. In terms of this being a yearly game, Tennessee and Florida will not play next year, which is going to feel really weird too. I was reading this at VolQuest last night. Ole Miss was the first top 6 in the SEC pass offense that Florida has played all season.
Yeah.
In conference play. Florida has struggled to stop the run, something that Tennessee uncharacteristically for them has struggled to do consistently this year as well.
Yeah, that is weird, honestly.
I just have a hard time predicting Tennessee games because of exactly the way Oklahoma went and Alabama went. This team is mistake prone because they're really young. They're playing more freshmen than anyone else in the conference this year. It's hard to know what you're going to get walking into that environment with a team that hasn't played a lot in that environment before. And this just feels like a turnover luck game deciding it for me.
Maybe. I think that the unpredictability of this game lies more on the Florida side.
Okay.
Because look at the consecutive performances they put out there with Kentucky and Ole Miss.
Fair.
They're punch for punch with, again, that inconsistent Lane Kiffin experience, but looked far more effective against Ole Miss than they did against Kentucky, where they essentially just sort of kind of hunkered down, drew up, and died.
Sure.
I do think that's very possible for the Vols to do because I think psychologically, with everything that's going on with Florida's search and where they're at, and I just think I think there's a sort of cumulative taxing effect on Lagway right now. So I work, my co-host and business partner, Phantom Island, Ryan Nanny, he's a Florida grad, and we've talked about like there was this feeling for the last maybe month and a half or however long it's been since that South Florida loss of like, well, whoever comes in has to. Lagway is sort of this key factor of like we got to fix him, and now it's like either it was poor coaching, ownership of the luxury vehicle, and we stripped the gears, or maybe it just wasn't what we ever thought it was. I think there's a way, and Tennessee's defense has been like a little bit better and a little bit better,
no doubt about it.
Right? Like I'm not breaking down game film or anything because I'm drinking from the fire hose every Saturday and then getting on the phones about coaching, but from what I've noticed, it's been there's consistency there. Because like Banks felt like some sort of, at least like the fringier of all internet people were like wanting to make that sacrifice or that offering.
Still do.
By the way,
which I don't understand.
I mean, we'll get to this in a second. This, like the overall psychological effect of losing this game. There's so much to be positive about if you finish 2-0, and I don't think I'll even have to do the big bit if you finish 2-0.
Agreed.
It is a special kind of weird to be a Tennessee fan. It's an off year in terms of playoff consideration. We've talked about all that and surviving Nico and doing the best you could. But then to finish with this woebegone Florida program on the road where it's 2003, right?
Yep.
How old were you?
I am 28 years old.
No, how old were you then?
Oh, I was 6. I was 6 years old.
Get that delay for the swear filter, whatever thing. Okay, I was in my 4th year of college. First time I went to the swamp, actually.
Oh, nice.
That is fascinating when it's transposed against probably the best Vanderbilt team that I think Tennessee's ever played in the modern era.
True.
Better than the Franklin teams. Better than...
No doubt.
Better than last year's team. I think more even than last year's team.
And a healthier Pavia this late in the year than what Tennessee saw last year when he was just a shell of himself late in the year because they couldn't protect him.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me what Tennessee holds in the palm of their hand, the ability to get off to get this psychological thing off their shoulders in the swamp and then to come home and hold serve and do what you're supposed to. I understand all the nonsense and the bias and the fandom and the emotion for we should always beat Vanderbilt. I get that. I understand the dynamic there.
Right.
And I also really understand this where it's like, no, this is the one you got to win this weekend.
For sure.
So it's hard for me to do the deranged Vol thing that we joke about here because if anything, I should back up what I've said on this show all year, which is that you are building, you are ascending. So these should be assumed as not winnable games like it's a layup, because that is a very physical Florida team when they want to be.
Right.
And this is the best Vanderbilt team. We're talking about a team that's technically in playoff consideration.
Sure.
So I'm not saying, well, Tennessee should just go in there and hold serve. They should be competitive on the field, and this should be a competitive game, a one-score game in the fourth quarter in both of them. I think the psychological relief of beating Florida this week will carry over into next week.
100% agree.
So maybe I have failed in this segment to calm people down, but I do think that there's something nice about what Heupel's done after getting knocked out of consideration, right?
Mm-hmm.
They didn't pack it in. You don't hear him saying nonsense like Shane Beamer, right? No, I'm serious. That's like another team that had playoff expectations this year.
100% right.
Which is a little different than actually going to the playoff, which is what Tennessee did. I will remind all of you for the 900th time that you got a bad draw. You didn't realize, like we kind of didn't realize because of Ohio State, Michigan, that the best team in the country by far was playing the 8-9 game in the first round.
For sure.
Okay. Because if you guys opened up against SMU, if you guys opened up against that Penn State team, like things are very different. Those are just the first two teams I thought of.
The seeding even worked the way it is this year.
Yeah.
And like you said, host SMU as the 8th seed.
Or Clemson, or Texas,
right?
Or like, yes, I think it's a different story for the Vols, and I think also that would have built a little bit more equity for Heupel.
Mm-hmm.
I think Heupel understands that this is not the you better win nonsense, the crazy Vol fan base of your losing these two. It's going to be really hard for me to come in tongue in cheek and say like, all right, y'all need to calm down.
For sure. It is as meaningful of games in the month of November that a non-playoff team is going to play this year in college football.
But they're going to be, if they go 2-0, they're a fantastic story in so many ways and capacities when that transfer portal opens. Okay?
Yeah.
And if they are consistent with the staff and they're not having to do that nonsense.
Right.
I just really need to emphasize to people out there who don't maybe get to peer into the layers of what we do and how crazy and distracting the schedule is the moment the regular season's over. Even if you're not going to the postseason proper, you have the transfer portal opening, you have high school finishing, you have to go out and shop for whatever assistance. Maybe you lose a couple.
Re-recruit your own roster.
Re-recruit, yeah. That's right. I haven't gotten there yet. You don't have a goalish-like situation in terms of someone on the staff that we know of getting picked or plucked.
Sure.
Also, and we talked about this in between segments on the break, your head coach is not going anywhere. It is calm in your kingdom.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not going to sit here on the radio and tell everyone everything I know about every name I've heard, because the reason why you can't do that is that a lot of people are in a sort of a positive position of being able to deny that I know this or deny. And like, I'm not going to burn sources and say, guess who you wouldn't believe is actually interested in the X job. That's where we are in this calendar. Here's what I will tell you right now. Josh Heupel has not had those conversations. Josh Heupel is in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And there are a lot of coaches that are not going to move who at least have their tires kicked or are kicking tires themselves.
So there's 16 teams in the SEC. If I had to rattle them all down right now, think about how many schools can claim that have a winning record and a playoff bid under their current sitting calm head coach's resume.
Right.
Okay. We can do referendum talk next year.
Sure. And next year there will be more pressure again because you've got like 247 just re-ranked their players. You got 2 of the top 10 players in the country. One of them's a quarterback.
Okay.
You've got a lot of guys coming back. You've got money you can spend in the transfer portal.
And I'm not even there yet in terms of looking at rosters.
Sure.
But everything that I at this point of the year, I rely more on like coaches and sources saying like, well, okay, the roster's shaping up well, et cetera. I'm trying to pull up the schedule real fast for 26.
It is a lot tougher. And the home schedule,
it's a lot tougher for everybody.
It is, right. The ninth SEC game makes a big difference.
At Georgia Tech, give me a little chef. Wow,
and that's actually a home and home. That's actually going to be played in a college
I keep
stadium.
slamming the desk. I'm sorry, but like, good job, college football. That's what it's supposed to be.
Georgia Tech AD was a Danny White assistant not that long ago, and it shows.
That's good.
The way that worked out.
I like that. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was at Troy before that. That's
Ryan
right.
Alper, something like that. The new AD at Georgia Tech.
No, I thought it was the dude from Troy.
No,
Brent
Ryan Alpert is his name. Vice President, Director of Athletics, Georgia Tech. Came from Deputy Athletics Director and Chief Revenue Officer at Tennessee.
Okay. Interesting. We'll talk about it in the break.
At Georgia Tech, where they start next year, and maybe. And again, Ramon and I talked about
they
this.
they got Furman. I love a tune-up game. By the way, you don't have to be that team that goes out in week 1.
Absolutely, but they'll have a decision to make too going into that game of do you bid in the Sam Leavitt sweepstakes?
Not
in
necessarily.
that market of quarterback, probably not, and you probably go with the kid from down the road who played at Brentwood Academy and George McIntyre.
Hey guys, there's a 3-line here. There's a 3-line here, guys. You don't have to chase every waterfall. God. Wow. You don't have to chase every high-name free agent in the portal because the successful blueprint that is emerging is Georgia.
Be somewhere in the middle between. Yeah. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket financially. Spread it out.
I would also posit this, and I have battered Atlanta Falcons syndrome right now. Chasing superstar skill position players is not how you win championships. And in college right now, dude, I just watched that no-name peanut farming Apex, Georgia, Gomer F-150 driving redneck. And I can say all those things because I'm from Macon. Absolutely smoke Arch Manning.
Yeah.
Okay?
Crazy.
And it's because he wasn't the one that was applying the front 7 pressures to Arch.
Right.
But I'm serious. Like, that's a more balanced way to do this. And they are still the example in this league, and then Ohio State is the example in the other league. So this idea of going out and getting into it, and it's Sam Leavitt, guys. Like it's like what is it above replacement? Like your WAR stats in baseball, like is it that far above replacement?
Mm-hmm. And for Josh Heupel too, when replacement is going to be elevated by your system and scheme more so than most other stops.
Yeah.
Like,
definitely. Look what Joey did, man.
Exactly. Get the replacement level quarterback. Go get premium players for Tim Banks to put on the defense.
I think 10 years from now, there's going to be a lot of retrospective stories about the Carson Beck signing, and it's going to be like a scarecrow in a field, not exactly like a blueprint for success.
And then when they get into the same comparative pool as Notre Dame, we could have conversations about them actually being compared to a team that they beat. Which is a whole other problem.
Miami?
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. Look, I have no, I don't know, is this a hot take? I don't know. Shout out to all my Nashville Catholics. I have no problem with Notre Dame being ranked higher than Miami. Zero problem.
I don't really either. I think it's just funny that they're not compared to Miami yet because they're not in the same group of 4 teams of the whole comparative pool thing and the 7-step process.
I do
compare teams.
I am okay with I want less. I mean, if we're gonna do this, I want less ADs, no sitting ADs on that committee.
Yeah,
I think that's. Do you know how busy Hunter Yurchek is? We talked about this between segments. Like I was breaking down the Arkansas search. He don't need to be doing this.
I agree.
That's so dumb.
Plenty of people that know the sport and are watching more games than these guys
you
are.
Need more overconfident journalists like me on that committee. No, I'm just kidding. I do. I'm fine with even calling it something as dumb as eye test on Notre Dame. Yeah. They're just better than Miami right now.
Let's talk about Vandy when we come back. Clark Lee, some high-level conversations that could be happening at Vanderbilt. Some things that you are personally taking responsibility for starting that we will talk about next.
I'm a booster.
What if you could pull up to $500,000 in cash out of your home and drop your mortgage rate to 4.99% APR? Hey, it's Will Bowling. Right now at Loan Pronto, they've got the lowest rates in 3 years. With Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan, you can get your cash in as little as 3 days. Pay off all those high-interest credit cards and even skip your next 2 house payments. One client just got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours, paid off their debt, paid off 2 car loans, and saved $2,100 a month. One call, life changed. There's no wait, no hard credit pulled up front. You probably won't need an appraisal, just fast, easy cash from your home's equity. Rates are at a 3-year low, so act now. Call 615-499-5780 or visit loanpronto.com for your free instant home appraisal. See how much cash you can get today. Loan Pronto, A+ rated with the BBB and nearly 2,500 5-star Google reviews. Call 615-499-5780 and see how much cash you can get today. LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. On approved credit, visit NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Wrapping up hour 3 this morning on Ramon and Will. Going to talk some high school ball with Tate Matthews in 10 minutes. Private school semifinals, public school quarterfinals tonight. Go to a high school football game tonight if you got nothing to do on a Friday. Great way to spend a Friday. I'm going to be doing that. You should as well. Stephen Godfrey in studio with us, talking, or with me, I should say. Ramon's out on his way to Gainesville. Vanderbilt.
You just described yourself while the mics were off as a Bama fan of a high school. I get to act like a Bama fan for my high school, and I'm still resonating on that.
Yeah, I know. I take pride in the fun part of having attended a blue blood high school football program and broadcasting.
No, we're both Braves fans. There's one sport where we just get to be like, it is unacceptable to do anything other than win all the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
Yeah.
It's really
nice to have one sport like that.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
That's how Vanderbilt fans feel this year. Good segue, kind of. In the way that they have put themselves on the doorstep of the college football playoff.
Yeah.
You were in here week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, talking about Clark Lee, saying, what part of Indiana do you not understand? Why are you not giving Clark Lee what he needs yesterday? And that was a week and a half ago. Message boards have been buzzing about some high-level meetings over there. Are we closer to an extension? Does it feel like Clark Lee is going to be the Vanderbilt head coach in 2026? I know that's a hard question to ask because it might change in 20 minutes, the way coaching carousels are
and people are always like, is it, it's like a binary, is it a yes or a no? Right now, yes, maybe, but I do think that there's still legitimate interest in him. Again, there's a whole breed of journalism where we just chase the news, and that's what you do, and everyone's racing to be first. This is a great example of like when the dust settles. And, we have, and Talk Radio has a 9-month football offseason. I want to come back to this with you guys because I'm really curious how Vanderbilt responded to this, how their boosters responded to this, because in a healthy, adjusted fan base and booster core, you expect some interest. Like, so you got Vandy, which this never happens to, over in one corner. Then you got like the Lane Kiffin saga is like the polar opposite. I am curious to see how Vandy responds to this and the timeline of like Clark drawing legitimate interest. Look, he's rep by CAA. They're going to be aggressive in positioning a good client to maximize their value, not necessarily go constantly move up. But it's like Scott Boras in a baseball, right? the super agent Scott Boras. When this is done, I think as of right now, if I had to pick a place, I would say Vanderbilt. I'm curious if Vanderbilt understands that that's a credit to the value of what's going on. Okay. Sure. So other schools have shown interest. Other schools should show interest.
Yeah. How can you not with what he's done there?
At the same time, let's take it like I'm going to hypothetically be Clark here for a second. I don't know what his ultimate goal is, what his intention is. Is it a place like Penn State? Is it a place like Auburn? Or is it, can I leverage this to increase the assets here? If it's door number 2, what is Vanderbilt willing to put up? Because this is not really a salary play here.
No, right.
From the people I've spoken with, this is not Clark saying like I want $10 million a year. It's how can we keep doing this?
How do we sustain this without Diego Pavia?
Because right now it's that comma. It's like, well, Clark Lee's a great coach. Oh, but Jerry killed Diego Pavia.
For sure.
You keep doing this and it's not Diego Pavia, maybe you win the Sam Levitt sweepstakes.
Right.
Okay.
Or the Jared Curtis sweepstakes, quarterback at Nashville Christian, who they're trying to flip from Georgia here at the 11th hour.
I mean, there's no reason why they can't find. I don't want to say they find another Diego Pavia like like they grow on trees,
right?
They pee on trees. It's not that, but I do think there's a way for them to be competitive consistently. Also, if they have a 7 or 8 win season in the next 2 years,
great.
The floor is so much higher, right? Okay, sure. we're all clear on that, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not expecting them to be on the cusp of a playoff bid year in and year out. Again, like I made this joke in the last segment about South Carolina, but look at Illinois, another program I think that's doing really well. You're not going to be at that every single year. This is what I've also told Ole Miss fans and what I've
Tennessee
told
fans.
Yeah, like Tennessee's a great example. Let's say Ole Miss wins that sweepstakes and they keep playing. You're probably going 8-4 next year or 9-3.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how this works now.
For sure.
It's very NFL-esque.
Everyone's floor is lower. Everyone's ceiling is also lower.
So if I'm Clark, well, first off, you got to beat Tennessee. Okay. We all understand the metric value of that for the program, for the city.
Your best team ever against a Tennessee team that isn't even their best team in the last 2 years.
It's not this entirely, because obviously Tennessee's not in Florida's place. But there are some parallels with everything that we talked about in the previous segment about Tennessee feeling like, well, it kind of has to be this year against Florida, and then Vanderbilt feeling the exact same way about the Vols.
Great point.
Except it's in Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
If it was here, oh my God.
Which that's going to be... I think a lot of kids that are normally home for Thanksgiving and not at that game are going to stay around for that game, including a lot of Nashville.
I hope so.
Because I can speak from personal experience. Living in Knoxville as long as I did, those Tennessee fans do not care about Vanderbilt. They're on the radar this year. The mid-state Vols fans are the ones that care about Vanderbilt.
It's very much not a state rivalry. It's an SEC football rivalry, and I'm not trying to take anything away from Vandy, but the way
it's just the reality of it.
Tennessee's undergraduate body is the way it's built, and then the geography of it. Like, there's 3 stars on the flag for a reason, and East Tennessee is its own culture
for sure.
There's way more thought given to Georgia and to
Kentucky,
Florida, Kentucky, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't take them lightly this year by any stretch. I think the ultimate thing to take away from what we're talking about with Clark is what can you get put on the table and a guarantee that's not about salary, that's about sustaining the success here. Because then if it's meager, if Vandy doesn't understand the circumstances or they're not willing to continue to build on this thing,
right?
Then you got to start, I am here, my family's here, and I went to high school here, and I lived down the street. That doesn't matter anymore. You gotta go where you can keep winning to sustain your career and reset your clock.
My question, too, we got about 30 seconds, is even if a deal does get done, is that a 100% confirmation that he's there next year? Because what does a buyout look like?
If there's an extension?
Yeah. That's 100%.
That he's there in 26?
Yeah.
Barring something monumental we can't see right now, yeah. Sure. Is Notre Dame open?
Yeah, good question. And that goes back to maybe the local professional football team because he's the top name for NFL jobs of college coaches. I don't think the Titans are going to go
I'd take him in Atlanta
route,
tomorrow. Oh, my God. I would take him in. Buddy.
Stephen Godfrey, suffering Falcons fan, college football
You got it good,
podcast.
Titans.
Fan of Island Show, College Football Inquirer, wherever you download podcasts. Good to see you. Appreciate you as always.
Thank you.
Coming up, Tate Matthews, Ron Slay, final hour of the week next. Holiday season is coming up, being in crowded room season, right? Family members coming in town. Maybe you're thinking about, oh man, last year I was having to have family members repeat themselves all the time. Maybe you're thinking of one family member who just can't hear as well during the holiday season as they used to. I'm here to tell you, Brentwood Hearing Center can take care of that. Whether it's you, whether it's a family member who is even just in town for a couple of days over the next couple of months, stop by Brentwood Hearing Center, get a hearing test, see what they can do for you. Let them introduce you to some revolutionary technology that's going to help you hear better in crowded situations and also connect wirelessly to your smartphone, to your television. It's like always having Bluetooth headphones in, and they're going to help you hear better as well. 615-377-0420. That's the number to call. You can visit Brentwood Hearing Center online at brentwoodhearingcenter.com. Conveniently located right off I-65, the Brentwood Old Hickory exit. They're going to get you off the sidelines and back in the game. Their doctors of audiology will tailor a hearing solution specifically for you and your needs. Call Brentwood Hearing Center at 615-377-0420 or visit them online at brentwoodhearingcenter.com. That's Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing, better life.
9:02, good morning, live from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. The Titans upset the Bills 23-19 last night in Thursday Night Football, thanks in large part to Houston's defense and their 8 sacks, 2 interceptions, both by cornerback Kalen Bullock, and a fumble recovery. Will Anderson Jr. with 2.5 sacks, and Daniel Hunter added 2 sacks as well. The Texans improved to 6-5. This Sunday, the Titans continued their search for the first home win of the season as they host Sam Darnold and the Seahawks with a noon kickoff. Rookie wide receiver Alec Iomanner did not practice once again yesterday with a hamstring injury, leaving him questionable to play this Sunday. On Sunday, you can catch the Lee Company Countdown to kickoff as they get you started right here on 104.5 The Zone at 9 a.m. Then Titans Countdown at 11, and then Taylor Zarza, Coach Dave McGinnis, take over for the call for Titans and Seahawks at 12. In college football tomorrow, number 20, Tennessee travels to Gainesville with a 6:30 p.m. kickoff as they take on the Florida Gators. Mike Keith and Rome Foster have the call on Vol Network right here on The Zone. And number 14, Vanderbilt, they host Kentucky at 2:30 on ESPN at First Bank Stadium. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you got to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Away we go into the fourth and final hour of the show and final hour of the week here on Ramon and Will. We are fueled by Scooter's Coffee. Justin Hawkins at the controls. I'm Will Bowling. Ramon Foster is out and back with us on Monday as he travels down to the swamp. Joining us at this time every Friday during the high school football season. Tate Matthews previewing the night of high school football, and what a night it is going to be. Tate, we got a lot of local powerhouse programs playing each other with spots in the semifinals or championships in a lot of big classifications happening tonight. How are you?
Doing well, Will. How are you, brother? Flying solo today.
Flying solo. I am a little tired of the sound of my own voice. I hope our audience is not totally tired of the sound of my own voice, but that is okay.
Never.
We trudge on. Tate, tell us about Freedom Boat Club, who brings you to us every Friday.
Well, we've talked about them all fall, and it's what they claim to be about is exactly what they do. They make boating simple, boating made simple, and they're the state's largest and most awarded club. They've got 12 top-tier locations from Middle Tennessee to East Tennessee, 7 of them right here in Middle Tennessee. You can get on all 4 lakes here in Middle Tennessee: Percy Priest, Old Hickory, Center Hill, and Thames Ford, and they own the boats. You just use them. They've got top-of-the-line brand new boats in tri-tunes, double-deckers, bow riders, and surf boats. So we've talked a lot about that this fall, but now's the time of the year where you're pulling it out, or you probably already pulled your boat out if you're a boat owner, and you have to store them, get them winterized. It's no fun. You have hassle-free boating with Freedom Boat Club because they take care of all that because they own it. So right now is the best time to join. They're running specials. Talk about it the last few weeks. If there's somebody in your life that is tough to buy for, you never know what to get them for Christmas because they have everything, the Freedom Boat Club membership would be an unbelievable gift for them. So now's the best time to join. You can go to freedomboatclubtn.com and get that special person for you signed up, and then next spring and next fall, I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And they're still open 365 days a year, 7 days a week. So if you want to get out there with a beanie and a hoodie and get on the tri-tune and cruise around on a pretty day, you can do that as well.
Love it. Tate, let's start in Class 6A. The Oakland Patriots are 12-0 again. They host Green Hill tonight. The Hawks in uncharted waters as that program has gone as far as they ever have in the postseason. 10-2 against 12-0, and a big-time matchup between 2 really good mid-state teams.
10-2 versus 12-0. You've got the Region 4 6A champs in Green Hill. They were undefeated in their region. And you got the Region 3 6A champs in Oakland. Obviously, they were undefeated in their region. Don't really, you know that the Region 3 is a big region with all those Rutherford County teams, but until you actually see it on paper, 7-0 in the region for Oakland. That's a big, tough region. But anyways, the two region champs, and I love this game. Green Hill 10-2. Their two losses are to Page and Ravenwood. Both of them are still playing, and both of them are undefeated. So that goes to tell you how tough Green Hill's schedule was. They also have wins over Beach, who's playing tonight against Page, and Centennial, who's playing again tonight against Henry County. So really tough schedule by Coach Crouch at Green Hill this year, and it was intentional. He talked a lot about that, and they defeated Smyrna 42-14 in round one, and Science Hill 35-28 in round two of the playoffs. And so, everybody knows about their offense and their quarterback, Cannon Burrows, one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the mid-state and the state, a Mr. Football semifinalist/finalist the past couple of years. He's going to have a big night, right? It's there's no secret in that. I would think I don't know. I don't know how Coach Crouch is thinking about this. You don't want to score too quick and get that Oakland offense back on the field, but going to have a really, really big night from Cannon Burrows. On defense, I love this. Jackson Crawford, Will Butler and Jackson Crawford were their leaders in the secondary. Jackson Crawford had 22 tackles from his safety position in week one against Beach. Remember that when we talk about Page and Beach a little bit later, but Jackson Crawford had 22 tackles in that week one game against Beach, broke his ankle. He did not come back until the end of the season, dressed or round one of the playoffs, dressed round one, and then played well last week. So he's back. That's a big, big get back for Green Hill going into this game. But Oakland, you were talking about uncharted territory for Green Hill. Oakland has not lost a quarterfinal game since 2013.
Jeez.
6A football. And remember, they go east. So a lot of those years, they might be playing, depending on how the playoffs were set up, it might be Blackman again. It might be Maryville. 2013 is the last time they lost a quarterfinal game. It's unbelievable. They've got wins in the regular season over CPA, Blackman, Pearl-Cohn. They're all still playing. So defeated Cookeville 42-10 in round one, Bradley Central 35-10 in round two. They've got 6 shutouts on defense. The most points they gave up all year was 21 to Riverdale. They've got that trio of free safeties, Justice Haggard, Craig Tutt, Joel Wyatt. All 3 of them are going to play Power 4 football. They just don't give you much on defense, man. Green Hill has to take advantage of every opportunity they get because there's not going to be many.
Well, that is for a spot in the 6A semifinal. Page will host Beach for a spot in the Class 5A semifinal. Talk about another good defense, Tate. Page has been lights out once again as the Patriots look to get that first gold ball to bring back to Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, the Page defense has 4 shutouts on the year. The thing that I think jumps out to everybody is they defeated Hendersonville 62-0 in round one of the playoffs. That's crazy. Kirkwood 24-7 last week. And Kirkwood with Miles Redding and Clay Brooks, their tailback. Kirkwood was putting up big points. Hold them to 7 last week. So in round two, Page has wins over Green Hill, Giles County, Centennial, and Henry County. All 4 of those are still playing in the playoffs right now. And their defense is just really tough, led by Knight Wilson back there at free safety. He's a player, man. I know you've got to watch him some, Will. He's had a long career at Page, really fun to watch, but they're just so deep on offense. Cam Cruz is the quarterback, but if they got to put Drew Rempel in there, no problem there. So technically they play 1 quarterback, but they've got 2. They've got 2 running backs that could start anywhere in Isaac Ote and James Pierre. They've got one of the best wide receivers in the mid-state in Caden Ackerman. And again, they can throw the ball tonight as well. They're just so deep on offense. And then, they're so deep on all their skill positions. Sometimes we forget about that offensive line, but Jacob Rathbone, Coach Rathbone's son, he started every game since he was a freshman. So if they can win this game and then next week and get back to the state championship game, he will start 60 games in his high school career, which was a record set by our man Eric Hazard last year. And then Jordan Coral, he's another two-way offensive defensive lineman for the Page Patriots. They're just really, really physical. So, so many weapons that they've got. But Beach, Coach Crabtree, this is the time of year you don't really want to see Beach. And they've got a win over East Nashville, who's still playing. They defeated Lawson 38-6 in round one. Had a really tough game against Mumford 33-30 last week. But anybody in 5A will tell you Mumford's a really good football team. Everybody knows about Caden Powell. They're 6'4", 260-pound quarterback. You're going to see a heavy dose of him tonight, but you're also going to see a heavy dose of Shelton Swafford, DK Williams, and Devin Crutcher from the running back position. They'll come at you from all different directions. Coach Crabb does that as well as anybody. But don't sleep on Powell passing as well. He was 4 for 6 for 128 yards last week against Mumford. But he's going to be coming downhill a lot. We'll find out if the Page linebackers and safeties like contact tonight.
And then, Tate, the final game to get to here quickly on the way out, CPA going to Brentwood Academy. I'm going to be at this game. Looking forward to making my way down there. It is the 5th straight road game for CPA. The last time they played a home game was October the 10th on TV against Innsworth. They avenged that loss last week, 17-15 against the Tigers. And, Tate, talk about coaches and programs you do not want to play this time of year. I know the record says they're 4-8, but Tate, I don't think anybody wants to play CPA, and that includes a really good Brentwood Academy team that's going to do that tonight.
Yeah, that's right. And if you talk to Coach Paul Wade at Brentwood Academy, which he and Coach Martin have a lot of, similarities in their coaching trees that they've come from, and they actually coached together for 1 year at Innsworth. But if you ask Coach Wade what scares him about this CPA team, it's the 8th straight semifinal, 8th straight year they've been in this position. This team expects to be here. This program expects to be here this time of year, and they expect to win, and that's kind of dangerous. So, but yeah, they went into the playoffs 2-8, 1-4 in the region, and now they've won back to back. They had a nice win over Lipscomb Academy in round one, and 17-15 round two. What I know you probably got to watch some of the game. What I loved about the Innsworth win is the first 3 times, I believe, Innsworth had the football. They got it inside the 5. They forced a fumble and returned it from 95 yards for a touchdown with crew chance with that. And then they had another one where they goal line stand on the 1 or 2. So this defense is tough. They don't quit. But man, they are going to face a talented offensive football team. Coach Wade is one of the best play callers. He's one of the best head coaches, but I think most people would tell you he's one of the best play callers in the state offensively, and he is loaded with talent. His quarterback, Cruz Jenkins, was 14 for 16 last week with 2 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. He just doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes. He's got one of the best running backs, if not the best running back in the mid-state, and Larry Sanders, Keyshawn Bowman, Lex Baskin, Eli Ferguson. So many weapons on offense. So, CPA is going to have to keep him in front of them, make them line up, and hopefully turn that thing over. And then on offense, do what they do this time of the year, and that's run the football, which they've been pretty successful at that over the last 8 years.
It was cool last night watching 2 of my old classmates, Derek Barnett and Dawson Knox, play against each other in a Thursday night football game. That program feels a lot like it did then this season.
Can I say something real quick since you said that?
Yeah.
All the parents out there that, by gosh, my kid's a quarterback.
Sure.
Well, they can only play one quarterback. And when you go to a really good program, there's going to be more than one quarterback. I'd say moving from quarterback to wide receiver / tight end turned out pretty well for Dawson Knox.
I'd say so. Derek Barnett, who was a Wildcat quarterback on those teams.
$50 million contract.
That's right. That's pretty good. Derek Barnett in the fridge package back in those days, Tate, still one of my favorite and wildest things I've ever watched in high school football, too, as a Wildcat quarterback. But again, I could go down this rabbit hole forever, as you know. Tate Matthews joins us Fridays at 9 here on the show, previewing a great slate of high school football tonight. Tate, thank you as always.
Have a great rest of the show, Will.
Thank
We'll
you, sir.
see you next week.
All right. There's Tate Matthews. Ron Slade joins us next. By the way, over at new Nissan Stadium, steel topping out ceremony happening right now. There's no live stream of this. There's nothing we could carry, so there's nothing that we could bring you that we're not. Amy Adams-Strunk giving remarks alongside Commissioner Roger Goodell. Big day over at new Nissan Stadium. We could talk about that. We could talk Tennessee, Florida, and talk a little bit of Titans and whatever else Ron Slade has for us coming up next. Ramona Will, fueled by Scooter's Coffee, 104.5 The Zone as Hour 4 continues. And, of course, at 9:20, when you hear the Tupac, that's Ron Slay's music, who joins us over the phone this morning. Slay, what's up? How we doing?
What's up, Will Lee, man? How you hanging in there this morning?
Good.
Man? Savage done snuck out on you, dog.
It just means that my normal hour nap on Fridays is going to be 2 hours because I'm talking a lot more, and I don't like it that way. I'd rather have Ramon talk because he's a lot smarter than me about a lot of things. And we're making do. We're having a good time.
Hey, man, you always do, Will Lee. You adapt to any situation, dog. That's why you the Will Lee, man.
Adapt or die. Absolutely. Slay, you are very good at calming anxious Tennessee fans down. I feel like I am a recovering battered Vols syndrome Tennessee fan. I feel like our trip to Baton Rouge changed me and my perspective on Tennessee when we took a tiger tooth from Mike the Tiger down there and took over Death Valley. How does that apply to this weekend, Slay? Because it is a very different atmosphere around this Florida game. It's not a Florida team where we don't know what they are in early September. We know what Florida is, and it's not a very good team. What are your feelings going into this game? How do you separate the past and the house of horrors that is the Swamp from this is a team with an interim head coach and Tennessee should take care of business?
Man, I look at it like this, Will, man. I remember when Hendon Hooker went down and all of the questions coming out of that South Carolina game was like, man, what are you guys going to do? What kind of resilience are you going to show, walking into this Vandy game, knowing that you got to go on the road and Vandy, they want to beat you. It was one of those moments in Josh Heupel's career to me where it was one you had to gather your team and you have to do your job, man. And it's almost as simple as that. If you can handle business, you got a wounded gator, if you will, in the midst of you. Like, are you going to go out there and play with it? You know what I'm saying? Like, and know that if he locks onto you, he going to take you on the death roll. It is what it is. In the Swamp, they not going to have any remorse for you. They going to do exactly what they want to do. But you being pretty much healthy walking into this situation, knowing your team and still something to play for, coaching staff intact, you know what I mean? You got your players intact, and you really got something to play for. Do you go in there and handle your business? I think it's a test of character. You know what I'm saying? Not only for the players, but for Coach Heupel to be able to get a pulse of his team and know exactly who they are. I think Mike Keith hit it on our show on Monday and on y'all's show. It's like he acknowledges what it is, but he also acknowledges exactly who this group is and not being down there and being able to change history. So you walk into this situation knowing, man, can you handle your business? Like, that's what I would be teaching. I would be telling my teammates, if I'm the captain of this team, dog, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Who exactly are you? You got an opportunity to prove it, not only in a game that counts, but a game that's on prime time. They put this on prime time for a reason. They know what it is. They know the mystique that's around the Swamp. They know how you've been done the last 20-plus years down there. You get an opportunity to go in there and right your wrongs and show exactly who you are and finish the season the way you want to with 2 rivalry games, regardless of what happens, bowl game or whatever. Browser, you've been having a hell of a season. Staley having a hell of a season. Matthews having a hell of a season. The O-line coming together. Your Aguilar. This is what you can be remembered for. Like, this is legacy. As crazy as it sounds, it's one game, but, man, this right here, imagine what Josh Dobbs is. Josh Dobbs didn't go play no college football playoff or anything like that, but he walk away, man, and be able to come back up here with his head held high because of the games that he did go and play. The Georgia game, win it in that fashion. The Florida game at home, hitting Jawan Jennings up the sideline. Man, it was character tested in them battles right there, and that's what they live by. So you got the same opportunity to go down there and magnify that by 10 by beating them in the Swamp. Hell yeah, you want all in on this, man. I feel it the exact same way, Will. Like, you got to go prove, man, and come together because you got a young bunch, and this sets the standard moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You done knocked off the Alabamas at home. You know what I mean? You played Georgia tough, even though you didn't get the win. You know you can go battle. Here go another opportunity for you to keep on chipping away at that rock, man, till you get that diamond.
It's well said, Slay. And I think, too, you make a good point that as young as this team is, they don't know any different than what this year has meant, right? Like they don't know what it was like. Like Ty Redmond wasn't on the playoff team last year. He only knows, hey, I got to keep getting better to earn my spot next year, because if not, they're going to go get a transfer corner to come in and replace me, right? Like we, I think, as fans view November for teams that aren't going to be in the playoffs as meaningless, which I think is irresponsible, because college football should not be a postseason sport. College football is about Saturdays in the fall and beating your rival more so than it is the postseason, to me, I think, the way the sport was intended. But beyond that, you have more to prove if you are a player in November than you used to, because it is easier for you to be replaced, Slay. And you playing well down the stretch, I think you could make the argument that games are more meaningful than ever this time of year for underclassmen, for younger football players, because you are auditioning to not be replaced by somebody that's not on your team right now.
Absolutely. And then, man, you got to think also, man, you had two guys that said when you're talking about the secondary with Colton Hood and Ty Redmond, you had two guys that set the standard where the big eye and the spotlight is on you with what Jamal McCoy and Ricky did. You have that now. They're looking at you guys. And then y'all going out and playing. You came out of the bye week of your Ty Redmond, and you understand, man, I can make plays. You grew from the bye week. This is the opportunity to continue to grow. And I'm going to be honest, man, even if they were going to get replaced, you're able to put film out there. You're a starter. If you wanted to go bounce somewhere, this is your opportunity to show why and what your value is. So, man, you take every single opportunity. It's almost similar to the NFL now. Like Coach Mack always says, man, you're applying for other teams at the same time while you're playing. You know what I'm saying? Now, not thinking that way, but that's the atmosphere now. You know what I'm saying? So, man, take advantage of it, dog. And I honestly do think they will. The only thing that I'm fearful of in this matchup, man, is Tim Banks' relentless pressure that doesn't get home. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
If he'll send blitz packages over and over, boy, but they don't get home. It's like, what are we doing, man? You know, so it's gonna be on the defense, man. So make sure you get there. And if you're not getting home, get your hands up. Get your hands up. All you need to see is Lagway make a mistake, and guess what? The ghosts come pouring out the closet, and you better believe, man, he'll keep on turning that thing over. And once that turns, that defense gets tired of that too. It's you got to believe, man, it's similar to what we're watching with the Titans. You know what I mean? Big Jeff and those guys defensively, we holding it down. We need the offense to come along. Man, that's in all sports. It's the same thing with Florida. That defense comes to play, keeps you in games, and you got to continuously go out there because the offense can't get it going. You know what I mean? When you're watching Lagway and those guys turn the ball over. So, man, this opportunity is going to be out there left and right. You just got to make the plays.
And to your point, this is not a super explosive Florida offense. That's been their weakness.
Right.
Like Brent Hubb said earlier this morning, they don't have a run longer than 27 yards all season in any of their games. They don't have a super explosive pass game. And two, they are very banged up at wide receiver. They didn't have Vernell Brown in the last game. They haven't had Eugene Wilson or Dallas Wilson the past couple of games. They're out for the year. The way that Tennessee has not missed as many tackles, Slay, the past couple of weeks has been encouraging. But they were also able to play tighter coverage because they weren't scared of getting beat over the top. You got to play with that same aggressive mentality in this game because I think Ty Redmond, Slay, has benefited from being more aggressive, being more comfortable. I'm really encouraged with the progress he's made. I need to see it again tomorrow because at a time that a lot of freshmen are hitting a wall, it does feel like, Slay, that some Tennessee players who they needed to get better are starting to get better between Redmond and the linebacker Jaden Perlotti, who I just totally love.
Yes, love him. He plays like his hair's on fire. Like it was interesting to watch his maturation, man, because we watched Aaron Carter do the same thing.
Totally.
It was just he was getting banged up. Now you get a guy that's moving actually faster than Aaron Carter, and I thought he was a godsend. But you also watch it with Ty Redmond, like you said, man. It's like the guessing has been taken out of it. So that's what confidence. You know, he's been in the film room, and he's playing with the confidence that you need a guy to be able to grow through the season. Like, he came out of the bye week to me. I told Mike Keith, it was like he said, you know what? I'm a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a sophomore now. I'm going to play like it. You know what I mean? And I'm a guy that's not looking over my shoulder for my spot to be taken. So I'm going to go out here and prove it week in and week out, and that's what you got to love, man.
All right, Slay, let's talk a little bit of hoops here. Tennessee 89-60 over Tennessee State last night. It looked like Tennessee defense for the first 15 minutes. And we've not been able to say that as much to start the year because it feels like, Slay, Tennessee's been getting beat just off the dribble more so at the guard position than what we are accustomed to. Now, when you have Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Mashak, of course, there's going to be a drop-off in that department. But the 5 forwards that Tennessee has, even without J.P. Estrella last night, you feel so much better about their opportunity to rebound some misses, to play inside out. Feels like their half-court offense is more well-rounded this year versus just jump shots and live ball turnovers turning into transition opportunities. They've got a little bit more to them on the offensive end. I feel like this team has definitely gotten better, Slay, since the beginning of the season. They have not seen a test anywhere close to what they're going to see next week in Vegas, going up against Rutgers and Houston, and then you turn around and it's Syracuse and Illinois and Louisville. How will Rutgers and Houston and whoever else the Wednesday opponent is test Tennessee in a different way, Slay? And what are you most looking forward to learning about how Tennessee stacks up against some really good competition?
Well, first and foremost, I love what you said, Will. We are able to see the growth game in and game out with these guys. I think it started sluggish, guys trying to get to know each other and try to figure out where they are on the floor. And that right there that doesn't just fit for the offensive end. That's for the defensive end, too. You know what I'm saying? They meant being able to guard multiple positions, Gillespie, knowing where guys are going to be. And defensively, when it comes to where's your help side coming from? You got guys that buy into it a little bit earlier, some guys it comes natural to. But one thing we all know, you're getting set down if you cannot abide by the rules that the defensive strategy is when you walk into it. Amari Abrams seems to be a guy that's picking it up. I love what he's been able to do. He's a guy that, man, it looks like he's going to try to lock down that 2-3 spot, that other wing spot on both ends. And if he can shoot the ball like he did last night going forward, listen, I know it ain't going to be 75% night in and night out, but the threat of guys having to close out this early in his career, that's going to be fantastic, man, because we didn't get to start seeing that to the latter part of last year with Jemai Mashak being a threat to knock it down from the corner and things of that nature. So it's going to be growth, man. And when you talk about those posts, man, they got to be protectors on both ends of the court. Protectors in the paint to have guys second-guessing, coming in there thinking that there's not going to be any physical contact, playing without fouling, but also keeping the body between them and the rim when they're attacking, and then offensively being able to control the board. Sometimes you just got to keep the ball alive because with all that length and activity that you get with guys like Cade Phillips, Jalen Carey, big DB, Dwayne Brown, like you get these guys tipped out, the ball's tipped out, and you imagine Nate Ament is hovering around the 15-foot mark. So those balls that's tipped, you got a guy with 6'10" wingspan coming in there snatching up those 50-50 balls. That's going to bode well for him. So it's going to be interesting moving into this part of the schedule with Houston. You know what you're going to get. It ought to be a little bit of bad, sour taste in your mouth, too, a little bit, even though these guys all wasn't on there, but their front court was. So they know the battle that it's going to take to go against guys like Tugler and the veteran leadership that they got at Uzan and Sharp. Like, that's their team. And we know how Kevin Sampson coaches. Like him and Rick Barnes, man, they carbon copy, you know, when it comes to the defense and the mentality that you got to go out there and play with. Rutgers would be the same thing. Always got talent, but you should be able to handle them. But then you go forward with Illinois, who restocked. Man, and it's good that they're not playing in Champaign, boy, because, they get the rocket up there, regardless if it's United Center or at their home court. And that ought to be a fun game in Nashville. But I'm interested also to see, as these guys settle in, Will, the percentage and efficiency go up. Yeah. You know, I think some of the shots they're taking are good shots. It's just being able to get in the rhythm and guys knowing where you're supposed to be and where you're supposed to get the shots. Like Gillespie, I'm willing to bet the bottom dollar. He's not going to continue shooting 1 for 7 from 3. Right. They meant the same thing, 2 for 6 from 3. Like these guys, even though they're missing, they're still finding other ways to score, whether it be in transition for Gillespie or whether it be able to get fouled and in contact and get into the line for Nate Ament. I think that's one of the undervalued things watching Nate Ament. he's been able to get to the line. And as a freshman, that's huge, man. Because not only do you set the precedent of the respect level, but the officials start to notice it too. You being able to play through contact. He doesn't do a lot of whining. That's going to bode well going into a very tough conference play and this back end of the schedule because Louisville going to come with it too.
He is Ron Slay. You get him 3 to 6 on 3HL on your television sets on the SEC network, talking hoops, talking Vols. Going to be a big one tomorrow night, of course, in the Swamp. Slay, thank you as always. We got to get you out of here because we got to update people. There's a Lane Kiffin update that just dropped a few minutes ago.
Where's
That's right.
the jet? Where's the jet, brother? I ain't on it.
The jet was somewhere, not in Oxford. So some interesting developments. Thank you, Slay.
All right, Willie.
All right, there's Ron Slay with us this morning. The updated info. Some breaking news on Lane Kiffin next. What's up? It's Will Bowling. If you love Tennessee gear, you don't want to miss this. The Volunteer Traditions holiday sale is here. Get up to 40% off your favorite Vols apparel with amazing bundles and exclusive deals on polos, outerwear, tees, and hats. Started on campus back in 2006. Voltrad still makes gear for Vols fans, by Vols fans. Now with holiday savings, you can't beat. I love Volunteer Traditions. I always have. We are so excited to partner with them this season because I've always been wearing Volunteer Tradition stuff. We're so grateful to have them a part of our team, whether it's crew neck sweatshirts, whether it's the fleeces, the soft material, the premium material. You're going to look good as well. Shop now at volunteertraditions.com before the best styles sell out. They make great stocking stuffers as well with the socks, with the ties, with the accessories. All of it. Volunteer Traditions has you covered. Started on campus back in 06. Check them out online at volunteertraditions.com. Wrapping up the show in a moment, Will, fueled by Scooter's Coffee, Buck Rising on deck. Justin Hawkins, Will Bowling, wrapping up the show and week with some Lane Kiffin news. How about this? Graham Hall of 247sports.com covering the Florida Gators. Says the University of Florida's athletic department, including AD Scott Strickland and multiple representatives, met Thursday night with representatives of Ole Miss head coach Lane Kiffin. Multiple sources tell Swamp 247 the meeting was at an undisclosed location rather than in Oxford. He has routinely been identified, Kiffin, as Florida's primary target for its head coaching vacancy, and the 50-year-old Kiffin has continued to field questions regarding his future. In the interim, the Kiffin family appears to be doing its due diligence. We know that on Sunday, he and his ex-wife, Layla, and their son Knox toured Gainesville, then toured Baton Rouge the next day. All these things have been happening in front of cameras, not behind them, interestingly enough. So when we talked with Stephen Godfrey earlier this morning, and again, if you missed that from 8 to 9 in hour 3, the whole third hour, just me and Godfrey talking college football, talking about the games this weekend, talking about the carousel, it felt to me like Florida was a distant third option between probably ranked in this order, although no one knows unless you're Lane. LSU 1, Ole Miss 2, Florida 3, in terms of likelihood where he ends up. Interesting report about him talking there. We will see what the corresponding reports are about him and LSU. So, definitely reported multiple places, including stated by Godfrey on the show this morning, that Keith Carter, the Ole Miss AD, going to meet with Kiffin today. This thing appears to be reaching a conclusion sooner rather than later, and we are not that far away from a Joe Judge-coached Ole Miss team in the Egg Bowl next weekend with a playoff spot on the line.
Wouldn't that be insane?
Oh, my goodness.
You hadn't seen him since what? The Giants?
Yep. He is a Mississippi State grad.
Catastrophe.
Could be coaching Ole Miss with a playoff spot on the line as the former head coach of the New York Football Giants.
If you had to guess today, out of the 3 schools, what would you say? I think he stays in Ole Miss.
Tigers.
Really?
I think he's LSU. I do. I think LSU is the best job out of the 3. I do think if I was him, I would probably stay at Ole Miss, but I'm not him. I just don't know. I feel like they're all 3 legitimate options. It does feel like Florida is the third option, and it's between Ole Miss and LSU. Clearly, he has not yet made a decision, and that is what the coaching carousel is waiting on, is for Lane Kiffin to make a decision, because then you have another team enter the John Summerall sweepstakes. Well, then if Auburn can't get John Summerall, because he's a former Ole Miss assistant, he goes to Oxford, who does Auburn pivot to? Mm-hmm. Does Clark Lee get a call from Auburn? I don't know. Does DJ Durkin get promoted? Do you go Alex Golish? Do you find the G5 guys? Ryan Silverfield, Eli Drinkwitz, Jeff Brom. I mean, there's just... the whole thing is waiting on Kiffin to kind of spark, because then is Drinkwitz the next guy at Florida? I tend to think so. I've thought that for months. LSU, is that Jeff Brom? Is that Kenny Dillingham? Is that Joe Brady?
The thing with LSU that kind of scares me, and maybe it scares some of these coaches too, is you've got all these boosters that have a big say in who they want as their head coach. You got the governor coming out who wants to have his say in who the head coach is. There's just a lot of eggs in the basket here. That's probably just too many here. Too many voices. I don't know. Maybe Lane Kiffin fits that mold a little bit because of his personality style. Ole Miss is just a really good job for him and how he's built that program and how he's maintained it. And I think he can build it in like congruence for success.
Yeah, it's his best short-term path to competing for a national championship.
LSU just gets you better players.
Long-term, yes.
Yes.
DP on YouTube says, does Heupel get a call? If you were listening to Stephen Godfrey earlier this morning, you would know that the answer is no. Josh Heupel not in any of these conversations as of November the 21st.
And Clark Lee needs a new contract.
Yeah, I think there has been movement towards that. I'll be interested to see if that gets over the finish line. I think it likely will. I think Clark Lee much more a candidate to leave than Josh Heupel is for sure. Josh Heupel's not going anywhere. You never say never, but as of today, no, Josh Heupel has not been in those conversations. I think anyone believing that are people that just hate Tennessee and want to try to troll Tennessee fans and say, oh, well, maybe your coach will leave. Well, no, like let's be realistic.
Right.
Roger Goodell's down the road at new Nissan Stadium at the steel topping out ceremony when asked about if Nashville is a Super Bowl city. He said yes. Said when the draft was here, it was a wake-up call. We said Nashville is a Super Bowl-ready city. It just needs a stage. This via Teron Davenport says, Goodell went on to say the new Nissan Stadium is that stage. Despite there being a process, he has no doubt a Super Bowl is coming. There you go. We knew that. Good to hear the commissioner say it here. Lots of coverage of that. Lots of comments still happening over at News Nissan Stadium. A big day for them with the steel topping out ceremony. The last steel beam being placed. Hold up the roof. That'll be put together. Controlling owner Amy Adams Strunk is there and made opening comments. Jim Wyatt is there. Tron Davenport is there. Nick Suss. All of these different, obviously, Titans beat writers who you know well. You can head on to their Twitter accounts and see. But no live stream for it for us to carry. Lots of coverage from people who are boots on the ground.
The earliest the Titans could get the Super Bowl is what, 29, I believe? I believe they're booked through 2028. I think 2029 or 2030, you could realistically see the Titans host.
Let's see. Yeah, it'd be 29 would be the earliest.
Yeah.
26 is San Francisco. It's Santa Clara. 27 back at SoFi. And 2028 Atlanta.
Yeah.
Mercedes-Benz
Stadium. They need to go ahead
so.
and get those bids in there.
29 or 30. And I believe college football playoff is on a similar timeline.
Yeah. I mean, that would be fantastic to get both of those in there. Then you can start talking about the Final Four, all these good things.
Yeah. We'll see. Good show, I think. I think it was fun. Good week. Tennessee and Florida tomorrow night. I think Tennessee wins a high-scoring game. I told some folks last night, 42-31. My feeling on how this goes, I think the 2 decades of misery end tomorrow night in the Swamp. Titans and Seahawks with Lee Company Cat at a kickoff at 9 with Titans Radio at 11. I'll have a good conversation with Brentwood, Tennessee native, fellow Brentwood, Tennessee native, Van Jefferson, in Farmville Health Plan's Titans Countdown. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to recapping it all Monday morning here on 104.5 The Zone.